lightsaber into this?
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
Now
Dude,
you start.
that's a Klingon with a freaking black lightsaber.
Where the fudge? Oh, I'm smart. I should have my preview thing ready to go, because that's what an organized person does. Okay. What? Oh, it's in my pocket. I'm smart.
I gotta go get a charger for my iPad.
Nope. No. No. Bloody Twitch. Seriously. Just display the window. Thank you. Don't play sound, because that's... I can kind of already hear us, so that's kind of immaterial. So that's there. That is there, so I can see what's going on. There we go. So that's there. That's there. Huzzah. So what? What do you want, machine? Nah, I'm good. Okay. So that's there. That's there. And now we make the announcements. Let people know that the game is going. In all the places not there. That'd be kind of pointless. Boop. And boop. Boop? Maybe? Today? Sometime? There we go. Alrighty then. So, we begin our 10th tale, the Reforge of the Bamoth Sector. It is the 33rd day of Dogoth in the year of Kalis 1002. It is effectively a month later since the liberation of Bamoth 2. So we're going to be covering a large chunk of time here. But in the short term, over the last while, we've been able to, we will be seeing what our brave warriors of SupQit'aH will be doing to reforge that which was broken. And we shall see if anyone manages to die in that process. It shouldn't be a deadly process, but these are Klingons, so let's find out together. No. There we go. Standing in an audience hall, with many Klingons in attendance, Zhou Oda sits upon his new throne with the banner of House SupQit'aH over him, and opposite him is the seat for any of the great houses who would want to seat the council, the audience, which none at present. Lord Singer Sasir stands in the central, some would consider the judgment pit, but currently Lord Singer is being judged, but being judged on her accounts of the last month, as she stands before the Joe of the House on Bamoth 2. Zhou Oda of House SupQit'aH, I stand before you to report on the glories of your house and those loyal to it.
Speak, Lord Singer.
On this day, we stand in a place that has not been stood in for some time. We have struggled to bring back the steel that was shattered and to recall the blood that was lost. It is for these things that I will account all that I know as truthfully as I can. And she begins to recount what has happened over the last month, that's her duty. So we cut some days ago to the temple, the Fort of the Fallen. This is about one day after the events of the liberation of Bamoth 2. Jo Rasa managed to very quickly assemble herself and rush to the attendance. Various warriors stand from at least 3 of the houses. House Rasa stands in attendance, of course. House SupQit'aH warriors. And House Amdris members. And a very small contingent of Ba'anan warriors who have not sided with the house leader and have fallen under SupQit'aH rule. Although there's very few of them. They're all priests of the temple that weren't there, and they stayed in the city, and they just simply are loyal to whoever has control of Bamoth. Lal Tarkin still retains his title as War Master of Rasa, but Jo Rasa is, of course, attending because this is a rather important event. The newest statues that have been erected in this hall are of La Rourke, one of the surviving heirs to the SupQit'aH name. He was the youngest SupQit'aH, directly related to the line. Opposite him, there are the statues of La Torg and Jo Amdris, who perished at the temple of the Ba'anan.
What's the state of repair of the Fort of the Fallen at this point?
Even as this solemn event is being held, repairs are being done. You can actually see the repairs being... When people walked in through the honored path, people were still working... There's laborers working away, and people inside the temple can hear the work being done of various tools and equipment. But the main chamber itself managed to stay relatively intact, since it's the most... sacred place in the temple. It's well shielded, but there's various halls and records and other amenities that need to be repaired elsewhere in the temple, in the fort, I should say. Lord Singer Sasir spends a considerable amount of time recounting the events and achievements of La Rourke, La Torg, and Jo Amdris, recounting the fact that La Rourke was there for the first, but was brought to honorable death at the command of the head of the house, but he fell not by mere illness, or he fell due to the machinations of traitors. There's a lot more to it than that, a lot more poetry and singing, but it would take considerable amount of time because she's recounting everyone's tale. Right. Which, if you want to know what happened, everybody, watch the older episodes. Honestly, because there's a lot that happened. La Rourke, not so much, but for La Torg and Jo Amdris, there's a lot more to cover. Then once those 3 are covered, she goes into the various other Klingons, many Klingons who have died, who are loyal. The most prominent statues are along nearest the carpet. There are more statues further away that stack up into the walls of more Klingons that have been added who have fallen in the name of SupQit'aH. Everyone at attendance just stands and listens to the song. And then once she's done recounting everyone's deaths and glorious deaths, she then recounts the song so far of the tales of House SupQit'aH, basically recounting everything that's happened, especially for warriors who who weren't there. They didn't know the full story yet. So there's, I mean, some of the Rasa and SupQuit'aH members, they're pretty in the know about what SupQuit'aH's been up to for the last while. The House Amdris members, they only just got into this on your side very recently. So they had very little clue what really happened, and now they're learning. Same with the Ba'anan priests who are present. And she generates 1 momentum for you as she basically rallied everyone in the room with the tales that have happened so far. You saw that there are old episodes that you can see usually here on Twitch. There are some things, there's VODs that stick around for a while, but I also have archives on YouTube, which I will... I can shoot you the link right now before I forget, because that's a thing you might want to know about. But each episode that comes out after a little delay, because I have to, due to my agreement with Twitch, I have to leave things here for a while first before I can put it over on YouTube. But they're here for a while anyway, so they're both great places to watch the content. There's even a playlist and everything. If I can find it. Videos. She then turns to, while I'm looking for that, she turns to you. I was about to point, and then I'm on the wrong. To Jo Oda. Jo, is there anything you wish to add to our remembrance of our allies and those who fell in our name?
And Oda will say, in this ancient and sacred space, the friends and heroes of SupQuit'aH are remembered for as long as the stars may shine in the night, as long as the suns may burn in the sky. We will remember the fallen and honor each and every one of them. Honor the past by honoring the future. Kapla!
The room answers Kapla in return. Presence command, difficulty 0.
I'll give you a threat just because. Your third die.
Sure.
Not just because, but... Oh, wait, I put that
Is that on my thing? That's on my screen. Cool.
Sorry. Having to remember how to do this.
It's been a bit.
And
3
that's
successes.
3, because that 2, yeah.
So 3 momentum gained. Jo Oda, says Lord Sasir, gathered here before you, I see loyal relatives of SupQuit'aH, loyal warriors of SupQuit'aH. I see House Rasa, who stands with you. I see House Amdris. And I see... She hesitates for a second. And I see those of Ba'anan in attendance. Are all here friends before your eyes, Jo?
I pause for a long beat or two, kind of half glaring at the priests of Anan before I say, I recognize all here present as friends and allies and honorable Klingons.
There's cheers among the Andros followers, and a very solemn but respectful kind of nod from the priest in the back. You can see Cecile kind of looks at them with a more... like, narrows her eyes briefly at them, but seems to be choosing not to say anything at the moment. Not in this setting, anyway.
These past months have been difficult for all. Particularly for those left in Bamoth Central, in the wake of the treacherous disaster that led to the fall of Bamoth Station. The reconquest of Bamoth 2 was not without its own tragedies and further destruction. We may, at times, have been enemies in recent weeks, but now we are again united together under the banner of SupQit'aH, and it is our task now to work together to rebuild the cities of Bamoth and to restabilize the Bamoth sector. For as always, we all stand on guard for the Empire. Beyond us is the unknown, the Shackleton expanse, where we know recently existential threats to the Empire have been smuggled in. We must rebuild with honor to be stronger than ever, because we must stand on guard against the threats that come from without, not merely to SupQit'aH, or Rasa, or Amdras, or Ba'anan, but to the Empire as a whole. And so, I charge you all to join me today in reiterating your oaths to the Empire, to Kalas, the Emperor, to Martok as Chancellor, and to the High Council, and your oaths, personal and familial, as honorable warriors. We all have our duties to perform. Long live Bamoth! Long live the Empire!
Those SupQit'aH cheer out as you cheer out. Cecile watching people, any faces for anyone who seems hesitant or nervous about what you're saying. It doesn't make any motion to you. Joe Rasa speaks up. My house is your house, Joe Oda. The great achievements and scientific discoveries we lay ahead of us will be empowering to both of us. My shipyards are at your disposal, my expertise at your disposal.
Well said, and welcome, Joe Rasa.
House Rasa's followers start cheering. Cecile brings up... Oh, go ahead, Tarkin.
I was just going to say Tarkin cheers alongside them, having served SupQit'aH and Raza during the conflict.
For the time being, says Rasa, I am willing to continue to lend the title of War Chief to La Tarkin. My honorable uncle, though not head of my house, shall be, I believe, of great service to you and your conquests in reforging this sector and pushing forth our shared objectives.
The War Master's support and service is most welcome, and I thank Joe Rasa. And I'll turn and look at the representatives of House Amdras. Warriors of House Amdras, so named for your fallen Joe, who died in glorious battle in the flames of the very stars themselves, taking the temple once thought to be untakeable for the first time in recorded history. Before you and the leaders of your house lies a most solemn duty, for you must now name a new Jo, one who will be challenged to equal the honor of Amdris, whose name your house now bears. May you choose with wisdom, and may your choice rule with honor.
The Klingons and the Amdris Klingons and attendants kind of look among themselves, like they're sizing each other up right there and then to start fighting. The SupQuit'aH ones who warriors kind of look over at them and just kind of shake their head at, like, stare at them somewhat disapprovingly, like you could in a like you don't fight here.
Right.
And the Amdris guys kind of look at the SupQuit'aH members and go, "Oh, okay," and they kind of look forward again, like. We will fight in another time. Our rights of succession are that of blood. We will answer you in time, Jo Oda. For now, we will bear Amdris until the time that we've decided who among us is worthy to lead the house.
Well answered. I trust that the path of blood will choose well for your house. And you may trust as well that SupQuit'aH will be watching.
And they cheer. Cecile says, "Honorable warriors, your Jo has much to do and much of the stars to reclaim. With your permission, Jo, I would ask them to leave to their duties, so we may discuss the matters of warlords."
Agreed. And so I say to all here, stations!
And people very quickly start filing out. Like, hustling out. They're like, "Yep, we're allowed to come here and have a nice ceremony, but we're all on duty. So hurry up before we get yelled at." Stepping from the ranks of the SupQuit'aH is a Klingon who you recognize from...
He's huge!
both Keldar and Oda recognize the face, but Cecile fills in the gap to help your memory a bit. Jo Oda, I present to you La Hona. He is a commander of our forces and a distant relative of your line. I recognize him as third in line for the house. You can sense a slight sad tone because it implies that she had to reach out beyond your immediate family to start finding relatives. Like, that's not a good sign for a house. But, she's acknowledged, she's proven to witnesses that, no, this guy's SupQuit'aH, I verified it.
Oda will stride forward and clasp forearms with Hona. Welcome, Hona. It's good to see you again.
Aye, cousin. It is good to see you as well.
Come, take counsel with us.
Well, I have found a unique artifact that you may take interest in.
Indeed.
Yeah, he produces the memory bank from the cortical array of Torque.
Oda picks it up and Oda takes it and kind of looks at it and then turns to Tarkin and hands it to him.
What is this? As he inspects this.
That's a Borg implant. I mean, there's still bits of meat on it, but that's an implant.
Memory files are intact.
And where did you recover this artifact?
Within the blast zone of the temple.
There's only one person's it could be. And I kind of look up at the statue of Torg.
Well, perhaps we may find out his secrets once and for all.
And for us the mechlath that he also had recovered. Do you recognize this blade?
Cecile speaks up. That looks to be one of Martok's blades. It's a bit scorched, but I recognize the design. It's very practical in its design. She says with a grin.
Very well. Let us see if we can access these memory files. Then we shall return both the blade and this last piece of Torg to the High Chancellor at his house. Who no doubt will also wish to honor them by their own traditions.
Did Torg have any family that was known? We may want to contact them as well.
That brings a point, Jo Oda. We have our domestic affairs to deal with our own sector, but we still have our ultimate battle reports that we need to present to the High Council. And unfortunately, given the length of our battle, if we wish to retain our claim to a High Council seat, it is one we'll have to fight for, not here, but on Kronos.
Well, this is a battle we will need to begin preparing for, and most thoroughly. Yes. I intend to maintain our claim to a seat on the High Council. And we also must deal with our new satellite hanging above.
I did get a chance to have a look at it, says Rasa. It is quite exciting. Many things can be learned from these aliens. And if they could spare a crystal or two for research that could improve our tactics in a way that Ba'anan's smuggling would not. Though they seem rather hostile to me for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. They didn't shoot at me, but anytime I approached them with my ship, they decided to charge up their energy signatures. So I've learned not to poke the glowing reactor. It turns out to be very good for my subordinates.
I believe it is your poking, as you would have it, at their fellows that may be causing the reaction. They seem to be able to communicate nearly instantaneously across vast distances. So the fact that your laboratories are several light years away may make no difference. We might be advised to return your subjects and allow them to join with their fellows.
That is one's possibility. However, if they wish to benefit from the might of the Empire, I might suggest that these aliens submit to our superior knowledge of technology and perhaps volunteer themselves to our military service. I am, of course, no diplomat, as is obvious to all here, but it may be to our benefit to convince them to be willing to die for SupQit'aH and for the enlightenment of Rasa. Cecile kind of raises an eyebrow at that particular comment, but she says nothing.
I will take your suggestion under advisement. In the meantime, perhaps you should arrange for transport of their fellows to the Bemoth system.
Presence command difficulty 1. She's being a little difficult, but she's not fighting you too hard on it.
Okay.
She really wants to keep researching them. They're such fun subjects. They don't yell or scream or anything.
Let's bring your threat up to a nice even 10.
Sure.
Where's the
Whoops,
fun in that?
Gold and the third die. Yeah, that'll do.
Where's the fun in it if they don't scream?
What the hey? I'll re-roll the 19 with bold just to see. Can't get another.
Threat is indeed
yeah.
fun.
2.
Oh, darn it. Yeah, I don't mind a bit of exercise,
3.
Spilsbury.
So 1 float.
Oh, yeah. What do you wish to spend that float on? If anything.
I can't really think of anything that I want to spend 1 momentum on. But in any event, what have your researches thus far shown, Joel?
Well, it would seem that these Calquette crystals, or at least the red variety that I've been exposed to, are capable of taking on and absorbing energy of great heat to the point of plasma fire and disruptor fire. They can redirect that and use it as a sort of food source. This food then allows for a proliferation of the crystals, which means that more of them are created. Their matrix grows by the thousands, if not millions. Imagine a whole nation's being drawn up in a single warp core. But to that same end, that they hold on to antimatter and plasma reaction energies and can release them when exposed to an energy shock, such as a disruptor blast, or to other such events. Sometimes they do it even on purpose. To that, they can be great weapons, and if put into, say, warheads, they could be a terrible weapon, even stronger than any torpedo we currently field. If we could somehow convince them to work in our cores, they could make our energy more efficient. I am looking into the possibility of implanting them into warriors, but that is a process that requires cooperation both from volunteer warriors, which I have many at my disposal, and non-warriors alike, but also we have the problem of the resistance of our alien subjects, that is to say, the Calquette themselves. There supposedly is a blue Calquette type that is from the Starfleet logs I was able to get access to, but it seems that very little has been made available to me. It seems Starfleet is looking into it through a Dr. Efrix of the USS Kismet, who seems to be directing their research. Without council approval, it'll be difficult for me to reach out to Starfleet, especially since, well, it's entirely possible Starfleet was behind the planetfall in the first place. They may know more than they're letting on.
This Kismet keeps coming up in relation to these Calcutta crystals. Perhaps we should seek out a conference with the crew or captain of this ship.
That too had been my thought. However, as the lore singer pointed out at the time, the council still seeks the captain of the Kismet, this Grinnon, to answer questions and stand before them in judgment for his part, whatever that may have been, in the fall of Bemoth Station and the deaths of our citizens. And so, reaching out to him is not politic at this time, at least not openly. And with the fall of Torg, many of our back channels into the Federation have disappeared.
That is very true.
I know this is not very well known, but you still have Admiral Paris that you can contact. And
We
he
should
will
make sure.
he will be needed to be contacted about Torque's passing, as he was his adoptive father.
We should make sure to speak with this Captain Grenon before he's executed, should the council decide to execute him.
Agreed. Although I think his execution is
Oh, you did it twice.
unlikely.
It's 10 more.
From my understanding, this Grenon is well respected in Starfleet. I doubt that the Council will be willing to risk weakening the alliance with the Federation, even over such a tragedy as this, particularly when it does appear ultimately that it was not the Kismet who was responsible, but this criminal Adler in her cloaked and stolen Romulan ship. But this is a level of politics and decision taking place well above our heads. While we must prepare for our case, and I nod at Cecile, before the Council, we have more immediate concerns in both this system and the sector. I am very curious to learn what exact part this Ferengi daimon... Be good if I'd looked up his name before I started to try and drop it. This daimon in the Ferengi station in the Shackleton Expanse. It seems that all of the Calquet that were being smuggled in have, that we know of at least, have flowed through his station. This Terminus Parazol.
Yes, I agree. It seems to be where the Calquet has led us to information that we got from the Calquet.
And speaking of our crystalline friends, my brief and only conversation with them to this point has revealed that they want only three things: to return to a place called Kasho, which I'm assuming is their homeworld or system, to have their enemies die, and to protect their people. They do not appear, and I kind of look over at Rasa, to have any interest in entering into Klingon service. And from what I've been able to see of their instability, I'm not sure that ultimately they would be of much benefit.
There are processes that could overwhelm that effect, should it be of need to House SupQit'aH.
While it is the role of the conquered to serve the Klingons, I suspect that engaging in a war of conquest with the Red Calquet would not serve the interests of the Empire, and doing so would thereby violate the dictates of our house. So, I think we must think of them more in terms, at best, of an alliance to be made and maintained. Therefore, my request that you should return their fellows to them. And my determination that, insofar as we are able to assist them in their return to their homeworld, the defeat of their enemies, and the protection of their people, given that this does not contradict the interests of the House and the Empire. So, we have covered major problems, both galactic and orbital. Now, and as there is a sudden crash and bang of construction, as I am reminded, Bemoth City, Central City, still lies in ruins, as does the area around the Temple of Ba'anan, and much of the Fort of the Fallen itself. With the missing battle station of Bemoth Station in orbit, planetary defenses are also compromised. There is much reconstruction and work to be done here. I will be looking to House Rasa for the assistance in reestablishing, in rebuilding, and replacing the Bemoth Station. I believe the shipyards at Bemoth are likely the only facilities in the sector capable of assembling the sections of such a station.
My ancestors helped build your station from before, Joe. It seems that I shall have to make a better version of what they achieved. It will be a considerable dedication of my resources, but it is a thing that can be built.
And let us not hew too closely to tradition. I am not sure that the decades worth of expansion and growth of the previous station was to the benefit of anyone. It eventually became too large, too unwieldy, too comfortable. So, here is an opportunity for House Rasa to turn its latest science to good use. A base as, if not more powerful, but one without the unnecessary extraneous spaces and constraints. I look forward to seeing your designs. I'm sure they will put those of the past to shame.
She smiles, a rather uncomfortable smile, the sort a warrior gets when they're about to kill somebody. But you get the sense off her that she has no killing intent towards you. It's like a killing intent toward a concept. It's an odd smile, because she's kind of looking off in the distance at something she's about to obliterate. Tarkin, it's a look you recognize a lot. It happens on Rasa people when they're about to mess with something.
Good, that should keep her occupied for a while.
You want me to build a battle station? Cool. I'll think of all the neat things I'm going to do to it. Like, briefly, Tarkin, you have images in your head of times at the spaceport where ships exploded while dock workers were trying to do some new experimental plasma fire flamethrower, which ultimately is a terrible idea, but it was a neat try, you know, that sort of thing.
I say, with that task, Rasa, I am sure you'll bring to House SupQit'aH and Rasa weaponry and equipment that we've never seen before. Glory to SupQit'aH. Glory to Rasa.
Huh? Oh, yes. Glory to me and SupQit'aH.
Kapla!
She starts wandering off.
Yeah.
Grabs out a pad and just starts typing away at it. Oh, War Chief, you can attend the rest of the meeting. I'm gonna be busy. She waves dismissively. Cecile just kind of blinks like, what? She's leaving a council meeting? Why?
Oh, she just got her dream project.
Like, I'm busy now, bye. Like, okay.
You have great insight into the jaw, Hodora. It is a task that she will put all her heart and effort in.
That will ultimately redound to all our benefits, no matter what house you belong to. Now, I was not merely making political noise about the necessity of increasing the strength of the Bemoth sector and the things that have been allowed to cross our border. It is exactly one of the reasons that SupQuit'aH was chosen so long ago to govern this sector of space. We do lie along the borders with the unknown. And with our recent battles and Gamola's reliance upon mercenaries and their ships rather than his own, we find the Bemoth sector rather weaker than it should be in terms of military resources.
That brings a point, Joe. Without Amdris any longer, no battle to put before them as yet, at least for the next month at minimum, we will have to deal, or someone will have to deal with payment of the contract of the mercenaries that Gamola once hired. It would seem, from my understanding, when I spoke with their lore master, that Gamola had promised many conquest rewards for fighting for him and in his conquest for the sector. Since we will be refusing them that conquest, we will need to find some other way. If we wish to keep them, we need to find some other way to compensate his fleet, to keep it loyal to us. I do not believe these mercenaries from the Reputation will actively attack our fleet. Their mercenary captains, those that Gamola have hired, are not fools. But they can become the mercenaries of our neighbors if we do not secure them by force or by resource.
It would seem to me that in the usual course of things, mercenary vessels and crews that were conquered, captured, especially in the terms of the prisoners, which, against all custom and tradition, we allowed to live. In those cases, as I understand the workings of mercenary companies, it seems to me that before we enter into new negotiations with them, they owe us a ransom for their ships and crews, should they want them back.
Tasir thinks for a second. Then it turns to a new question then, Joe. It becomes a question of whether we wish to have ransom and resources or if we wish to retain them in exchange for their continued service. Basically paying out their contract via the ransom amount.
I dislike relying on mercenaries. However, unless I am wrong, they currently constitute the bulk of the sector's defenses. Is that correct? Or mobile defenses?
They are the bulk of Amdris's fleet. Most of the Gamola was enamored with Nausicaans during his reign, since they were how he was able to raid so vigorously without depleting KDF resources, merely his own pockets, as it were. But he was always able to refill them through raids against their enemies. It worked for him, and it's, as Bemoth is not wont to, it is one that it is a non-traditional way to maintain a navy.
GM, just out of character, what is the state of military resources in the sector?
At current, whoopsie, I closed my house numbers. Your might and Rasa's might are basically at full, although Rasa's might's like 7 and yours is 9. You used to have all of Amdris, which is an additional 9, but that 9 is now suspect. You're basically looking at losing like 9 worth of might. Or not all 9. You'll probably reduce a fair few numbers to be weaker. So you'd be losing almost a third of your power in the sector if Amdris isn't brought into line, either pulled into Rasa or pulled into SupQuit'aH, or just reestablished as per a status quo. Buttonon walked away. Now, what's actually kind of screwed you is, thankfully it's not too bad. You've lost the might of Buttonon because they basically rebelled outright and they've left.
Right.
Or died in the battle. Thankfully, it's only 7 might. That's not a ton. They weren't super powerful. What is annoying is that you lost all the influence Buttonon had. They had a lot of connections that SupQuit'aH used to use, and they don't have that anymore. So they were part of the way that SupQuit'aH was able to push hard in the council.
Mine.
Okay.
Yes.
So might-wise, you're already being reduced because Buttonon pulled their ships out.
Right.
Let me guess which one. Dwayne?
Oh, now you got an open mic, man.
Lorsia, how much funding do we require in order to retain the services of Andres? Raza has some wealth that may come into use.
So she explains, and mechanically speaking, you're looking at a difficulty. You know what? I have threat, so let's make it really hard. 4, 5. Oh, I should probably type out. So. And so you're looking at a presence command difficulty 5 task assisted by your house reputation plus wealth. If you succeed, then your wealth isn't affected. You can succeed at cost. The cost being that the wealth set of the house that wants to succeed, that wealth set actually goes down by 1 because you end up spending more wealth than your house could really afford to lose, and so your wealth decreases. If you make it, then you find a trade that's like it's a trade that doesn't hurt you. You lose something, but it's nothing you're going to miss too much. It's very difficult. It was base 3 to begin with, but the difficulty is increased by the fact that the warriors are... The mercenary company is very annoyed that they're not getting the thing they wanted to get. However, I will reduce the difficulty by 1, because you have the advantage, because I assume you're going to apply it to this, the advantage of, hey, we'll ransom you back your ships. And that's a big negotiating factor.
What are you trying to do, Tarkin?
Using Raza's wealth to help pay for their services, retain their services.
What I was wondering we might do is we take the ransom in service to, work out this contract, but we sweeten the deal by promising them a raid that could reap tremendous profit, albeit alongside a high degree of risk. What I'm wanting to know is how long would it take with our domestic production capability of ships to make up if we decided not to use the mercenary services anymore. So to make up for that might element.
Considerable amount of time. What would happen to Andres is that they would lose 2 of their might worth. They'd drop down to 7 might. The only way you could recover that would be at the end of a tale you would spend toward increasing your might to make up for it. So it would take time for you to work on that to increase. Or you'd have to achieve a mission that you're able to seize a lot of resources from somebody. Like, for example, if you just seize all their ships, SupQuit'aH's might goes up by 1, Andres goes down by 2, because all of a sudden Andres is out not only the ships you capture, but all the other ships the company has with them. And they're like, oh, well, we'll just leave with what we have left. Which...
Yeah, so how do you increase might?
Might is an increase through glory. It's a sorry, not glory. I'm full of nothing.
I was about to say there's no way you can earn 9 glory.
No. It's increased by
The arc milestone?
Yeah, it's
increased Riser's influence.
yeah, it's arcs that increase it. Arcs increase. Milestones let you shift around stats inside of a house.
Well, what I was trying to figure out was, okay, if we keep them if their ransom is working out the length of their current contract with the carrot dangling of, a big raid that could potentially be very profitable in front of them, would that time of the contract buy us enough time to in-game,
Oh, you want to tie them over until you can make up the might loss.
They're working out their contract. We're building barrels or something at, either at the Rasa Yards or the other base, Zenny Station, which you say could also build ships.
Yeah. That if you do that, you're not really rolling to have an advantage. You're just modifying the deal, which that's easier. I would bring that down to diff 3 at that point, because then it's just a matter you're not really paying them for semi-indefinite service. You're like, just for a little bit longer. Like, you guys aren't tied to us for too much longer. Just stay around for a bit. There's a raid coming up, and
right.
And they won't care if you replace them, because like, well, whatever. As long as we get ours, we're happy. You know.
Consider working out this contract to be the ransom that you would normally expect to pay. Plus, I'll throw in a good raid somewhere during it, and then we'll go from there. So, what will that do? So that's down to diff 3. What does it do? Succeed or lose?
So is that including ransoming back their ships? You mentioned?
Yep. It'd be giving back their ships, and because originally it was 5, you're bringing it down. You basically brought it from 5 back down to 3.
Right.
Well, I guess if Hododa wants to make the main role, I can roll to assist with Rasa's wealth and rep.
Okay. Okay, so you said there were certain consequences back when it was task 5 for losing or so what are the consequences for the roll again?
If you succeed, you get the thing that you're looking for. You'll have them for until as per the terms. You basically are renegotiating the contract and saying, "Hey, just stick around until we have replacements," and they'll do that because you told them you gave them a very detailed contract on what they want, what you want, and they're like, "Okay, we'll live with that because we also get our ships back and our crew, which that saves them a lot of time." If you
having to pay for it,
if you fail. And just let the failure happen, then they'll just drop off. If you succeed, you can succeed at cost, so you still retain them, but you end up spending more money than the house that's paying for it really could afford. So you end up overpaying, and that brings their wealth stat down by 1. So it would be. Okay. So I think what Tarkin's offering is that Rasa is willing to lean into the wealth cost rather than SupQuit'aH leaning in.
Okay, so whoever's doing the lead role will be the house with the wealth?
Anyone can be the lead. It's just a matter of as long as you get the house, it's which house you guys want to foot. Like, Tarkin can speak on behalf of House Rasa for its wealth, because it's toward the war effort. Mm-hmm. But you could insist, no, SupQuit'aH's going to pay the bill.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. What bill are we paying? Because my whole bit was to get them to hang on without me having to pay them anything, because that's the ransom.
If you succeed, they'll take it, and it won't affect your wealth at all. The wealth is assisting the roll. If you make it, then it's like, they'll ask for we want more phaser batteries. You're like, we have hundreds of those. Sure, that doesn't matter. Go ahead. But if you fail the roll, then it's like, oh crap, that's not enough. And the only way we're going to keep this is if we start throwing platinum at them to make them take the deal.
Okay. That sounds good. I'll be happy to lead the role. Diff 3.
Are you saying we can choose to assist or not assist with the house wealth?
One of the houses has to assist, at least.
Okay. I will give you a difficulty 3. I'll give you a threat for the third die.
Okay.
Just wondering, so
Sure.
with the other alternative, we retain their services without having to offer them anything else. We retain them ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, if you want to just have them ongoing, that would be the diff 4. So, because the reason it got brought down to diff 3 is that you're saying, well, your contract is shorter because you're only sticking around until we refill our ships. But the diff 4 is like, no, just stick around until we're done. We don't need you anymore. Which can be a very long time, the old agreement.
I think you go for the 4. Okay.
What's your reasoning?
We retain their might for much longer. Ensure that we have House Amdris and their forces supporting SupQuit'aH in their endeavors.
But we still are relying on mercenary forces, inherently unreliable, whereas if we keep them enough, just long enough to allow us to produce their equivalent in ships and crews, then instead of paying them to continue for an indefinite period of time, we can roll that expense into the building of ships and training of crews. So we don't lose any might, but we put ourselves in a position where we do not have to rely upon mercenaries and their equipments and uncertain loyalties.
Very well. It is much better to rely on our own than on paid mercenaries.
That is my feeling as well. However, your point is well taken, but I have never... Yeah, I've already pretty much said that. I've never understood Gamola's reliance on mercenary forces. So,
Cecile briefly points out, as you wonder at it, my understanding is that when Gamola's father fought with Duras, a lot of their forces were destroyed in the Civil War. So when Gamola came to power, he was greatly weaker than he was, and other houses around him tried to attack him at his station, at which point he rapidly threw all his wealth at grabbing mercenaries. Those same mercenaries he used as sacrificial pawns in his gambit to lure people to a station that eliminated most of his enemies. He was, for all the dishonors of his father, he was able to become a brutal raid leader, sacrificing the mercenaries. Now, that worked for Gamola, and Gamola was a very different sort of general. I don't know if those who follow after Amidris's example will do so well with such a tactic, but it is a tactic that is Klingons are willing to die for glory. Mercenaries are ones that one can trick into dying for money. It is a very with no undue disrespect to a dead house leader. It is a very Orion way to handle a problem, but not a terribly Klingon one.
and while we were on the subject, House Amdris. What is the War Council's opinion on allowing the House to continue as an independent major house in the sector? Or should it be absorbed? In part by Rasa, in part by SupQuit'aH.
Hoda, have you considered giving it to one of your own? He looks at Keldar.
I have no desire to lead my own house. Too much responsibility.
You see, Tarkin, the engineering equivalent of your sister almost, or your niece almost.
What do you mean, Hod?
Keldar here would rather spend his days figuring out how to get an extra 0.1% of speed out of the warp engines and then deal with the politics and day-to-day business of running an entire house. Have I read you correctly, Keldar?
You have.
It is an honourable duty, as I know myself. Well, perhaps we may absorb them into the houses, and perhaps that is the solution.
Lorsinger.
Yes, Joe.
What are your thoughts on this?
The absorbing of a weakened house is not one that is unprecedented. It is a thing that happens to many old houses, and especially ones who have lost most of their major relations. Right now, the soul and steel of Amdris is now going to be a bloody battle for the coming future. To absorb them will require a minor bit of steel work, as it were, blade work, to ensure your supremacy over whomever else declares that they are the rightful heir to Amdris. But should you claim it, or should you and wish to dispense it as your own resources, the law allows for such a thing. You simply are as subject to the laws of succession and the rights of succession as any other member, unless you wish to press it in the face of the High Council and simply make it a matter of fact rather than a matter of steel. That is to say, having it declared by the Council that any opposition is a treasonous thing. It is a thing not normally done. It's usually done if someone is being particularly stubborn and not recognizing that their house is too weak. But it is a matter of... It diverges from the traditions of blood and more to the modern traditions of steel. A logical and legal action. But once you've absorbed them, then it's no matter to distribute them between Rasa and SupQit'aH. The gains to both houses would be considerable, if not some lingering resentment from those warriors who are robbed of their chance at glory of leading a house. But that is the fate of the defeated when it comes to the history of the Klingon Empire. If they wish to be their own house, they can simply form their own. But I doubt there's any particular member of any officer they have among them that could reliably challenge you with a large fleet in that regard. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. At best, I would think the worry would be buttoned on trying to wheedle their way into it, but if we act sooner rather than later, they can't enter into the arena with us. Currently, they're too busy trying not to be caught in the shadow of treachery.
So, wait for the house leader to emerge and then challenge that leader?
That would be the expedient way to do it. That means you're not tied up in their particular rights of succession, simply those of the Empire.
Very well. Keep in touch with their rights of blood. Once a winner has emerged, it will be time to absorb the house.
She nods. Your will be done, Joe.
So, now, we should deal with these mercenaries. So yeah, I think we're going to do the difficulty 3 roll.
Okay. Which house's wealth is at risk?
Let's do... let me pull up SupQit'aH.
Because it's your rep plus the wealth that assists with the roll.
The
Yeah.
total for Rasa is 12, and the total for SupQuit'aH is 11.
Raza's 13.
13?
12
Two.
is Rep is 3.
Oh, Rep is 3? I was thinking Rep is 2 for some reason.
It's gone up because of Tarkin.
Oh, okay.
It normally would be 2, you're right.
Sure.
The itchiest eyes.
If I spent 2 momentum, could we use the fact that we have a rather large sum of actual latinum captured in our reconquest of Amoth from both the freighter captain and the Ferengi Marauder captain and crew to lower the difficulty as the advantage of that extra bit of wealth?
Sure, yeah, I'll take that. That's a reasonable advantage.
Okay. Alright, so here's... I think I already gave you a threat for the third die.
Yeah.
Before we started nattering on. Here's Oda's roll.
Ooh.
Oof. So let me use bold.
Man, you just got that one success. That's rough.
Yeah.
Rough rolls.
So there's 2, so we've made it.
Now assistance from Rasa.
From Rasa, I thought you were going to use SupQuit'aH. I'll roll that then.
Oh, which one were you guys doing? Sorry.
13's better than 11.
There we go. So once another success there.
This is a business that will take some time for you, so at least a week, but it is something that Oda and Tarkin will be working on for quite a bit, for at least a week of negotiating, going back and forth, negotiating monies, but there is a... Cecile reports later before Joe Oda that their services have been secured and they are in position after great... expenditure of wealth, but with no great loss to the overall strength of either SupQuit'aH or Rasa.
And meanwhile, the shipbuilding program has begun, or is on the way to.
That's another roll. So that is going to be a might, a reputation, building. Let's type this out. Building of station. Words, Bamoth. I'm saying Station Bamoth. Do you want to give it a different name?
Yeah, let's call it.
Name it in honor of Rurik. He was a member of the House directly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, building of Station Rurik.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so there are basically 3 types of stations I have in my head that you could possibly build. One is the simplest station possible, and that's essentially a listening post. I doubt you want to build that, but that's just it's like that tiny little listening post that you had before. You give it one task it's good at, and you're our subspace boy, or you're our doc, that sort of thing. They're fairly small, like Scale 4. They can't really take other ships, really, but they're good at the one thing they do. Then there's the outposts, which is easier to build. They can't really take the big, like, Scale 5 or so ships very easily, but they are an outpost. They're what's common when you build out in the frontier. and that won't take terribly long. The biggest one, which is what Station Bemoth used to be, it was, think like ESD scale, like a space dock, a major base. That one can take on, like, that one can dock the larger command ships, and it's a major strategic point. So difficulty for, I'll give you the 3 different difficulties. So basically 2, 3, 4. 2 being specialist station. Just writing this out so we don't forget, because I have a memory of a goldfish sometimes. Outpost.
Oh, shiny.
4.
Oh, shiny.
4. Fortress, basically. So it's a control engineering roll, difficulty 2, 3, or 4, depending on what you're trying to build. And it's house reputation plus might to get the process started. It will still take some time. Basically, it would take 12 months, but you can spend, if you make this roll, you can spend 3 glory to try to get more people, outside help, to help you speed up the process of it being built.
Okay.
There's also the possibility of missions having the reward of you shave off time on the build because you now have way more materials than you thought you were going to have. This is just to get the process going. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Klingon months, or is this 12 Earth months? Are we talking one standard Earth year?
12 months for us, so 30 days. For Klingons, it takes less time because, you know, aliens. I don't have no idea. For the simplicity of bookkeeping, it'll be 30 days.
One standard Earth year, essentially.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
Okay, so before we get into this, now we're also wanting to, you know, have ships built to replace the mercenaries by the time their contract runs out.
Mm-hmm.
So are we able to do both at once, or do we need to concentrate on one or the other?
You could do both at once. If you want to replace the ships, you don't need a building a station roll. That's just increasing your might to make up. Basically, you want to get 2 might to SupQit'aH or Rasa or even Amdris. Just spend either milestones or arcs to increase the might of the house, and then you can just say, okay, we've increased our might enough. You can go away. I'm like, okay, bye.
Okay, so that's just something we've got to do with arcs and whatnot.
Yeah, because you have enough resources. If you only had one building outpost, like if all you had was any station, I'd be like, yeah, you have to focus on something. But you have like 2 facilities, and Rasa, the fact that you guys didn't destroy the Rasa station means that, and the shipyard, means she'll go whole hog into this and go, oh, well, hell, I can do all kinds of things if you want me to do. I can build a station. We know how to do that. If you want,
put her own little twist on it, and it will probably blow up anyway. But still,
if you want, because you did put Rasa as a lead designer, you can either instruct her to just build the thing I want you to build. Don't mess around. If you and that will be the base difficulty. If you let her do what she wants and experiment as she builds, that means that Rasa herself will roll to assist. With the roll. The downside of that is it increases the complication roll for everybody, because there might be accidents doing it her way, because she's not big on the whole work safety thing. She just wants really cool results.
Klingon OSHA doesn't exist.
Yeah.
right. So by how much would it be increasing the complication rate?
Just by 1. Unless you want her to go really crazy. But
that seems worth it to me.
Yeah, I think so.
So OSHA's for cowards, says the chat. But yeah, so
Warriors do not get carpal tunnel syndrome. Rasa will assist for 1 complication. Difficulty will be increased. Other way, decreased by 1 if it's plus 2 total. I don't know what to give you if you give her 3.
For 3, I'd let you have a special trait that she adds to the station. Anything beyond that, I would not advise. Because then it starts bringing in the Calcat, and you're trying not to bring them into it.
Right. So 1 is just letting Rasa assist and do her stuff. 2 is letting her tweak some things, and it reduces the difficulty. Correct?
Yep.
And then 3, it gets a special trait.
Yeah, because now she'll be allowed to throw all kinds of weird ideas, and one of them's bound to stick.
So, Keldar, you will be making this roll since it's engineering. So,
Yeah.
You've got a complication range of 18 to 20, 19 to 20, or no, 18, 19, 20, yeah, or 19 to 20, or just 20, yeah. Wait, am I thinking right?
I think you're thinking right.
So, which, I'll leave it up to you as to what you want to risk. I'm figuring, is Rasa's might and reputation more than 13?
No.
Okay, so it'll be SupQuit'aH rolling that.
I'll get her. I'll figure it out.
10.
So, if we go for a fortress, that's difficulty 4. If we give Rasa 3 complication, so that increases the complication range from 20, 19, 18, 17, right?
I'll type it out. Hold on.
Okay.
Just to simplify our memory. 1920 is. Oh, sorry, that's not right.
Well, we definitely want a fortress, I think. And if we give her at least 2, if we take at least 2 bumps in difficulty, that will lower the difficulty. 2 bumps in complication, excuse me. That will lower the difficulty by 1, I think he said.
Yes.
And we get the assist from Rasa. And if we take the big risk, it gets a special trait added to it. And everything else.
So my control plus engineering is 15.
Okay.
Um,
And you'll get assist from Rasa plus an assist from SupQuit'aH, which is rolling a 13.
and I have the Order of the Batleth, which allows me to quash 1 complication without paying for it.
So if you roll 1, you might be able to squash it out, right?
Yeah.
And we're sitting at 5 momentum, so we have some squashability. I say definitely go at least for upping the complication by 2, because that brings difficulty down to 2. I mean to 3.
I really want the Rasa special trait. Like,
Yeah, okay, I do too. I just didn't want to say that and feel like I was trying to push you in that direction.
Yeah.
You're there, I'm there.
Okay. And this seems like something I would want to spend my determination point toward. Let's see.
Then the question becomes, what value?
I don't know that I have a value that really applies.
Let's have a read. Keldar. Oh god, all those notes. So many notes. Hey, you're supposed to replace your 3rd one, by the way.
I know I haven't gotten around to it.
Okay, well technically you might be able to play into a dictate.
I was
that's
thinking
true.
the first dictate
Yeah.
would easily fit.
Restore the house
third.
with honor, and glory raise it still higher.
Would you?
First
would you
or
accept
third,
dictate?
honestly. First or third dictate, because you're letting her go hog wild. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Okay, so I will spend my determination toward the first dictate.
Restore the house with honor, and with glory raise it still higher.
I will buy a die with threat. So that costs 2 threat, correct?
Roger. I was about to type corgi. That would have made no sense.
I will buy another die with momentum. So that means I'm rolling 4 dice.
That'd be 3 momentum.
On it.
And I'm shooting for difficulty 3 with an assist from Rasa and an assist from the house, right?
So you're aiming to build a fortress.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you taking the highest? We're taking the highest complication.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
4 dice.
I'll start programming in Ross's dice because I'm going to assume you're going to. Well, you have at least some success anyway, so I know I have to assist, obviously. So 1 die. Attitude discipline is control engineering, so that's.
We've already got 2 with the.
Focus is modeling and design, so she gets focus. Complication number is way lower. Okay, I'm ready to go.
I don't know what EPS systems being applicable focus.
Yeah, I won't fight you on that one. That makes sense.
Okay, cool.
I have no real reason to oppose that focus. I was trying to think of one just to be annoying, but I couldn't think of anything.
Rasa nailed a crit, dude.
Awesome.
Why?
Okay, it's still 4 or 5 successes, so we're good. We just have complications on the board.
Yep.
Well,
So we're gaining a total of 2 momentum, correct? Because we got a total of 5.
2,
Yeah.
3, 4.
Can anyone re-roll?
I can re-roll one of my dice, and I can quash another complication.
Oh, there
So
we go.
I'll re-roll one of those dice.
She can't open anymore.
Okay, there you go.
It's a
That's it.
crit as well.
2 more successes.
So that's 5. So we're gaining 3 momentum now. I'm just going to go ahead and put them in the pool so we can see how many we have.
So
Okay.
we have one more complication that is not quashed.
Okay, so we'll spend 2 momentum to quash that 3rd complication.
There you go. So after
Awesome.
over the month of work, over at least a week or more of, or over the month really, Keldar, you get to work with Rasa, and you get to learn at great pain how dangerous she is. She is so dangerous because she starts saying stuff like, well, what if we use a singularity drive? You almost lose 30 warriors to that brain-dead idea alone. But eventually she finds out a way, oh, fine, we'll just use smaller ones. Because she wanted a big, proper one, not the micro-singularities that the Romulans use. You're able to convince her, no, we don't have to use the big one, it's fine. Then she starts talking about how she could plug in Klingons into the system and use them like living batteries, at which point you're able to talk her around to not sacrificing 100 laborers to be batteries a day, because she didn't think that was a problem. Because, they're laborers, that's what they're for.
I definitely storm into Oda's office at some point and say something about Rasa being impossible.
But by the end of it all, as brazen as she is, there's always little snippets of insight and genius that show through. For example, the big thing she's able to achieve that you were actually able to, you kind of able to talk her out of this into a more general sense, but she basically created an advantage where anyone of House Rasa, so including Tarkin or any of her anyone trained under her, basically has a difficulty decrease of 1 on any task while they're aboard the station, since it has a lot of the more, so we say, eccentric UI style that she and her people are very used to working with. It's not Klingon defense compliant, but she finds and her people find it's a lot more efficient. They like it better. You can leave that with Rasa. The part that one of the complications you canceled out was she was just going to put that in and not really, and you weren't going to have a really good second option to give her. You can instead make that so that SupQuit'aH people get that advantage instead. For 2 momentum, you can make it so that Rasa and SupQuit'aH both have their specialized, personalized system. So basically, everything is easier if you're doing something on the station, whereas anyone else has to do the regular difficulty because they have to change the user interface to be standardized rather than personalized to the way SupQuit'aH likes it or the way Rasa likes to do it.
Currently, we're sitting at 3 momentum.
I say we spend it.
Okay. Is it... So you're looking for a total of 4 resources, GM?
No, just 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The 2 is to make it so it's both houses benefiting rather than just one or the other.
Cool.
If you guys let that last complication stand, she just was, oh yeah, here's the solution I have. My house has better access to the station. Like, oh, thanks for that special trait. That's so helpful of you, isn't it? Like, yes, hooray. Actually, she called it the Rasa and Keldar Klingon Defense Force Computer Interface System. So there's between Keldar and Rasa, you're able to design a brand new user interface that works for both works with the training that your house in particular get, but also still maintains the KDF standardized in case some new recruit comes from elsewhere and they can just step into the role, because you want someone to be able to just step in and work, but you now have a more special system. So Sasir reports on that at the end of the month to Jo Oda and recounts how many lives were saved by Keldar's efforts, and that Rasa's passion for her work is unequaled, even if it means the cost of those loyal to her. She says that you get the hint when she reports that she's kind of needling her on purpose, like she's kind of bad-mouthing her a little bit, but at the same time she dressed it in the panoply of she's acting very Klingon, so I have no reason to report that she's being bad. Just she worded it so she could warn you, hey, by the way, Rasa's a bit extra when it comes to how she does her work. But hey, it worked with the help of Keldar.
Right. Right. Well done, Keldar. And so we've just got to remember, do we have to raise one house by 2, or can like each house be raised by 1 might-wise to do what we're trying to do with the ship?
Amdris is looking at going down 2 might once the contracts go up. So you want to have at least 2 might total between the 3 houses.
Okay.
So it could be just 2 to SupQuit'aH or 2 to Rasa, or 1 each. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sasir, looking back in time, Sasir nods her head and looks at Keldar at the time. So Keldar, I do not envy your opportunity to work with Jo Rasa. She is a genius of her time. And she says the Klingon word for genius, but it's one that also could be described for someone who's a little bit crazy.
It is not an experience that I wish to repeat.
And yet, your work together has ensured that Bemoth 2 will be able to stand against any foe. Well done.
Thank you, Hod.
We'll actually cut to the surface. Oh, I'm missing somebody. Hona. A little smaller. Doop. So now we have the question of what to do about Andrus. That will be something you'll have to deal with later once they figure out who their leader is. You figured out what you want to do for the station. That process is underway. You figured out how you're going to deal with the Andrus mercenaries for the time being. One other thing that kind of becomes... It's something that Seer doesn't really bring up, but all of you kind of clue into very quickly. You need to figure out where your new capital is going to be situated in the city, on the planet, because Bemoth Central is a ruin, and Ba'anan Temple Grounds are a ruin, so now you have to figure out where you want the new audience chamber to be, where you want your capital to be situated.
And did Rasa, during that month, bring her subjects to rejoin the sphere of red?
Yes, she won't defy. She has no reason to defy you because she gets to work on her new toy, so she's distracted. She's like, "Oh, you're not letting me play with that toy, but here's this new toy I get to play with. Okay, here you can have this old one. I don't want it anymore." Do.
I assume they just sort of joined the sphere that's in orbit.
Yes, the red star of death glows a little brighter on the night that she brings them.
Red star.
The red Death Star?
Don't worry, it's not within the North Star constellation, so... points for anyone who got that. Anyway. So yeah, what do you intend... Well, you also have... Well, sorry. There's the rebuilding of the capital, or the establishment of a capital, and rebuilding what was lost between the temple and the central city. You want to build it there? I'm seeing pings, so...
Well, we can't
Yeah,
go
I'm just
anywhere
pinging things.
there,
Sorry.
Oh.
Okay, so does this symbol indicate that the place is actually radioactive, or is that just a power-producing center?
That's the major power-producing city.
And Agani's Landing, what's its deal?
It's a major agricultural and medical city.
Okay, and then you've got mines. So yeah, we'll want to definitely, since some of the priests of Ba'anan proved to be loyal to their calling rather than their traitorous dog of a house leader, I want to rebuild them a smaller, less grand temple, but still, it's good to honor Kalas. And we need to, start rebuilding the city as much as possible. Fort of the Fallen's being rebuilding. As I remember, the terrain around the Fort of the Fallen is not exactly hospitable.
They intentionally built it there to be annoying. Just so you guys know what I'm marking. Sorry, I didn't tell you. Basically, each of you can do up to 4 task rolls because it's assumed that you're eating a week working on tasks. So Oda's worked on at least 1 week has at least 1 week's worth of work that he had to do during the month, and Keldar's had 1 week's worth minimum that he had to do to work on the station.
So,
Just let me know what you need me to do.
am I right in thinking that instead of being planet-bound like Oda's father basically ran things from Bemoth Station?
They usually had 2. You could make your palace in the fortress. Some house leaders do that. Gamola used to, once upon a time, before he blew up his station. But yeah, most Klingons like to have it land-based because that's where a lot of the land battles, and they are closer to the people that way. But if you go up to the station, you're a lot more secure, and it's a lot more warlike in stance because you're ready for deploying. You're more naval-focused rather than planet-focused.
Okay. Now, you said palace. Are we talking about an actual administrative capital, or like the seat of the house, or is it both?
It's both. It's your administrative center, but it's also the testament of your glory. Fort of the Fallen is more of a. It can be used as a capital, but it was a dedicated mausoleum that SupQuit'aH built in honor of his friend. That used to be where his palace used to be until Central City got bigger and became designated the new Central City, and then he moved there. But that was centuries ago.
Right. Okay.
You can split it up. You could have your house, like your personal living house, be different than your administrative place. But most Klingons like to have both in the same place because they want to show off how awesome they are while they do their work. You're working for someone who's awesome. But some houses are like, no. Here's my cool crash pad party house, and here's my we're getting to work, leave us alone house facility.
Right. I'm thinking that there's a lot of symbolic value in rebuilding in Bamoth, the central city. I mean, the center part of Central City is all the land is cleared, so it's ready. I mean, there's a divot or two you've got to fill in, but otherwise, it's foundation ready. What do you guys think?
You're talking about Central City, right?
Yeah, I like literally putting the capital administrative complex, whatever you want to call it, smack dab in the middle of the city, like at the impact point where the station hit.
Well, Tarkin can't enter that without suffering any
Oh.
difficulty. But he will
See
use
through my
some
plan.
time to research that anyway, to try to reduce that trauma.
Yes, there is. You guys can working on trauma if you want to eat some of your weeks into getting treatment.
Well, and we don't have to do it. I was just sort of thinking of the symbolic nature of that.
I think that it seems very fitting. It seems like something Oda would do to me.
To rebuild, yeah, I agree.
Well, and let's face it, it's not like it's going to take a week to build that complex. So, I mean, hopefully by the time we're having to spend much time there, you guys have, at least toned your trauma down.
It's difficulty 6, isn't it? To reduce it. I don't know, it's really high.
To reduce it. Whoa, no, don't open that. Close, thank you. So to the normal roll would be an insight medicine roll, difficulty of 6, to bring down the damage by 1. So your base damage right now is 5. So the difficulty of it is the difficulty plus 1. So each time you succeed, it brings it down from 6 to 5, 5 to 4, and so on. It is very difficult to deal with extreme trauma like that.
Because I used the glory to gain favor with the coquette, would that give some advantage in terms of that initial roll?
Yeah, if you want to do a treatment roll, then the difficulty for that roll will be reduced because the crystals will try to help you untangle the memories for you to try to make it a little easier to. And that'll apply for the duration of the tale because it's a standing advantage where the crystals are trying to help you pull your memories away from the other memories you have in your head.
So that would the advantage be reducing difficulty by 1?
Yes. So it'll be diff 5 to deal with a trauma 5, basically. Oh, it's trauma 5, not trauma 6. I'm smart.
And sight and medicine. Okay, I'll use that roll. And can I use a value of let me see. Well, the only one that really maybe is there a dictate that's more appropriate?
No.
Can I use a fourth dictate? Make allies when possible and gather strength.
I'll leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess the Coquettes are kind of making allies to gather strength over the trauma.
Sure. Yeah, I'll
Do you
take
allow
that.
that one.
I'll allow that one.
Dictate? Okay, so
I'm gonna up your comp by 1 though.
all right. And let me see if there's any. And can I use, is xenophysiology applicable here, or even research for a focus?
I'll take it, yeah. I'll take it as xenophysiology for sure. Because xenophysiology also covers your physiology.
Yeah. Okay, so that's...
So certain pharmaceutical methods are being used to try to help out with the problem. Oh, who's the target of your role? Is it Tarkin you're trying to heal, or Keldar?
Maybe me first. I'll apply to Keldar.
Keldar's just getting trauma currently from working with Rasa anyway. So.
And I'll give you 2 threat for 1 die.
Roger. Did I hit 2? 2. Yeah, I didn't do it right, sorry.
Oh, look at that. That's like 6 successes.
Wow.
And then there's 2 more, so 8 successes. So 3 additional momentum gained.
Nicely rolled. Jeez and Pete.
Yeah, that was very lucky.
So Tarkin's trauma has been reduced to 4. Keldar is still at T5. T5, not percentile.
Can I roll my because I'm a veteran to do that, or does that not apply to dictates?
If you spent your determination point, so it fires.
Oh, okay.
So roll a challenge die, see if you keep it. Nope. Poof.
I guess I need to do that too, then.
I would, yeah. Nope, it's gone.
Okay.
So Tarkin spends a week's worth of studying various pharmaceuticals and consulting with the Coquette Star of Death on how to untangle the memories of the millions that died in Bamoth. It's a fun time, let's put it that way. But thankfully, the trauma is not nearly as bad.
What's it down to now?
It's down to 4 for you.
4.
So you're getting like 3 hours of sleep a night.
Can I share anything with Keldar to help him through? Or...
Ooh. Necros, thank you very much for the donation. Did I hear millions? Tell me more. Short story is that Bamoth Central City had a space station fall out of orbit, and crash into the capital of this planet, killing millions and millions of Klingons and their followers, which Tarkin and Keldar here had the fortune of being traumatized due to psychic crystals bestowing terrible memories. So, fun times for them. Being plagued by the nightmares of the dead, as you do. Tarkin, you were asking me...
Can I do anything to assist Keldar's recovery?
You could do the insight medicine roll to to him for a week if you want.
You could spend a couple of momentum or all 4 momentum for advantages from your own experience, maybe to reduce the difficulty.
What's the consequence if I fail?
His trauma just stays the way where you waste a week, and his trauma never gets better because treating trauma is really hard.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I'll be happy to help Keldar. So that's still difficulty 5 for him, isn't it?
Yep. Even with that's due to the. It's only 5, thankfully, because the crystals are helping you still.
Do you want to try and spend momentum for an advantage to maybe lower it further?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna up the complication a bit because I'm a nice person. So complication is now 1820.
Okay, so it's difficulty 4 now with that advantage, and I might buy a die using threat.
So 1 die or
Yeah, because I think I want to reserve the 2 momentum in case there's a complication. That's not enough, is it? Oh, I don't think there's any other way that I can't re-roll.
Keldar, you can roll to assist with fitness medicine since someone else is helping you to go through it.
Okay, cool. Fitness medicine. Nada. Where's Amdris when we need him? Dead. What is 14? Okay.
Don't worry, Keldar. We'll continue our efforts. Maybe leave it some time before we go through this again.
Thank you for your assistance, Tarkin. So we each get 4 tasks?
Yep. You've used up 1 of yours, Oda's used up 1, and Tarkin's used up 2. Hona has his full 4 still.
Determined where the new capital's going to be dealt with the mercenaries.
Yeah, because Oda, yours was dealing with the mercenaries. That was your
Right.
1,
And we've got the station working,
which was Keldar.
in the works, rather.
And Tarkin spent 2 weeks trying to deal with trauma.
Hona, do you want to take over House Amdris by defeating their eventual chosen leader in combat?
I can do that.
Hona, to prepare for the battle ahead, I'll make this a fitness security difficulty Base 2, but I'll say that the guy who's going to get into control is pretty tough, so you have to do some extra training. Fitness security difficulty 3 to spend a week training up for the battle that is soon to come.
I'm going to buy a die. What is our current momentum at?
2.
Yeah, I'll use momentum to get a third dice.
Okay.
Don't you have bold security?
Yes, I do.
So you'll need to buy it with threat to get the reroll, if that's what you're after. You're welcome to the momentum.
Oh yeah, I'll just get it with the thumb.
Okay. One, two, I think that's 3. Oh, if it, 14. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 minimum. Plus weapons and tactics would kick into it. So, yep. So that's actually 1, 2, 3. That's 4. So you actually gain 1 momentum.
Nice.
As Hona spends a week training and being, and Sasir gets briefed on, asks the lore singer of Amdris, like, hey, so how's your succession war going? Oh, this guy's looking good. This other guy's looking good. This lady's looking pretty good. She's like, here's your possible opponents. No one's won yet, but here's who you should be training for. And you spend a lot of time working on your various tactics and training in different sword methods and Makbara stances.
There's a short Klingon who sounds a lot like Burgess Meredith yelling at you a lot.
Yeah, also, I could be, while everyone else is doing whatever they're doing, I could be working on cracking into the portable implant to get the files out.
Sure. That would be, I'll let you choose.
Because I do have computer hacking as a focus.
I'll make this a little difficult because I have so much threat. And what is a GM if not one that spends their threat? And you're dealing with Borg tech, so the comp's going to be base anyway. So you're looking at a control or daring plus science roll difficulty 4, complication range 2, so 1920.
I need to add in a science score.
Yes.
I'll put science at a 3.
Whoops.
I guess my other two roll disciplines will be at 2 then. So I have all the rest filled out. Control, there. They're both 10 plus science, so looking at 13 plus. Diff 4, I'm gonna need to buy 2 dice.
With threat or?
I'm trying to see where we're at with those.
I'm sitting at 5 threat. You guys are sitting at 3 momentum.
Oh. Buy one with momentum and the other with threat.
Okay.
I don't want to give you too much.
Because I'll just spend it back.
Yeah, you forced me to blow up my guy. Gloriously, but still, I wasn't like Storm.
1, 2, 3.
Well, I rerolled that 19.
Do you have bold or cautious science?
I can add it.
You could. Which one do you want?
I'm gonna put bold science.
Okay. Makes sense since you're messing with. And that was also a complication, so you definitely want to reroll that 19.
I know, that's what I said. I want to reroll.
No, this could be second week. That's 4. So Hona spends a week in a secure facility, messing with this implant, this Borg implant, and fiddling with it and trying to access its data without getting it to infect the computers back or activate any of its self-destruct sequences or anything like that. And you are able to pull the data off the implant. So you have a full battle record of the what happened to Banan plus the what memories that Torque had.
Several personal records of Torg.
Plus some knowledge on the Borg.
Including a message from Admiral Paris. Which the date of the transmission was after the events of the destruction of the temple.
What sort of message would this be?
This would have been a message from Admiral Paris to Torg. Like a personal message.
Oh, okay, just personal correspondence. Okay.
Like from a father to a son.
Yeah.
But it's still enough significance that I'll bring it to Oda's attention.
What have you found, Hona?
I found the battle records plus a couple messages from Starfleet to the house.
To House SupQit'aH?
Yes.
What are these messages?
One of them is out from Admiral Paris inquiring about his son. I'll be right back.
Hona briefly has to step away
Okay.
as an alert goes off elsewhere. It's like, I'll be right back.
Well, I guess Oda's next task with Cecier's assistance would be working on that report she mentioned to the High Council to try and justify all of this and maintain our position as and maintain our, it's not quite a claim yet or whatever, but SupQuit'aH's position as a potential council seat.
So, spent some threat to up the difficulty a bit. You're looking at a presence command difficulty 4. You're assisted by your house's influence and reputation, plus Cecier herself is going to be rolling to assist. I'm going to check to see if she has something that helps with assist rolls, because she might be able to help you a bit more because she's the one giving you.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We're just doing a roll for, okay, none of her talents really help with this, but she will have a focus in Klingon law. Her presence command is 14 total.
Okay.
No, not challenge.
Okay. So I think at this point, Oda will spend his determination, because This needs to be good. And I'll give you 2 threat for the 3rd die.
Okay.
I'll spend my reputation on great deeds, great songs, because in a way I am telling a story here. If you'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm willing to bring in the trait you have. I forget what it is already. I looked at it earlier today.
Hero, story, and song?
Yeah. I'll let you add that in as a difficulty decrease, but it increases complication.
Sorry, you'll it increases complication. What'd you say before that?
It also will decrease difficulty by 1.
Okay. Sure, we'll do that. So looking at diff 3 now. We've already got 2 on the table. Number of dice will be 3. Let's see if I have inspiration or persuasion as a focus.
I'd take either, given the value you invoked in the trait.
Okay. Or I could use poetry and libretto writing. I mean,
You could, yeah. I'll make my report in rhyme and meter. Huh?
Right. Okay, so complication's just gone up by 1.
Yep.
Okay. So that's 4 successes plus 2 more for 6. We're looking for 3, so that's 3 momentum. And let me roll my veteran. Nope.
It's gone. And now your house assist.
Which is 12, 4 plus 8. Yep. Oops, wrong thing.
I've never made that mistake. Not once.
Is the reputation the considered the focus range, or is it just a standard focus of 1?
The reputation is the focus range, yeah.
Okay. And that's also complication 19. There's the house.
And the assist from her just happened above your roll.
Okay, so it does 2 more. So 1 float.
So you you spend a week, you and Cecile, working on not just a report, but an older style report that one SupQuit'aH probably would have made in proper poetic meter and song to make sure that's easier for a lore singer to memorize. Although SupQuit'aH was not a particularly noble soul himself, he learned the ways of nobility very, very quickly, and that tradition is carried forward in time, as his house was ennobled by his actions. So, but yeah, you were able to the satisfaction of the lore singers of Kronos, who are quite impressed by the fact they asked lore singer if she wrote it. She's like, "Oh no, I just touched it up." And gave him some historical touchstones about certain words are used in certain situations. But other than that, this was all Jo Oda's writing. It's like, oh, huh, okay.
He's old school, yo.
And she's like, oh, and part of your trait, oh, and here's also him reciting the poetry himself, for posterity. And it's like, oh, wait, he's lore singing? Usually leaders don't do that because that's what they hire a lore singer for. But Cecile isn't offended at all. It's like, no, that's what she later tells you that some of the nobles to show off their education and heart, they would show off that they could sing and recite Klingon poetry and opera to show that they're not just any Klingon, they're future emperors. So the complication that almost came up was some people might read that as you wanting to become hinting that you want to be emperor, but she gave you advice on how to avoid coming off stronger than you want. Like, if you want to make that declaration, good, but let's not make one by accident.
Fair enough.
So this unlocks the fact that you can do the house glory spend of, I think it's a glory spend, but the house trait of trying to raise yourself into a great house. So that is a thing you can do. So your claim is still standing. You just have to push the claim down the line.
Put that in my notes. Sounds good.
So what next for the brave warriors of Bemoth Sector?
So,
Now, were we gonna finish what's going on?
Oh yes, you were reporting to Oda. So Hona comes back from a brief minor emergency.
During
So that-
several pads.
so that's a claim to a council seat, GM?
To a high council seat, yeah.
Okay. Like I'll ever see 5 glory. That's hard to hit, man.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're Tarkin. So you had a message from Admiral Paris?
Yes, here he is inquiring about his foster son and his whereabouts, as well as several reports on the Kismet and other items regarding the recent turn of events.
Well done, Hona.
And I leave the message on what to do with it in your capable hands, dear cousin.
I will see that it's taken care of.
Aye.
Well, I definitely want to read over whatever reports from Starfleet that were in there first.
Bloody. You can perform a reason plus command or security. Security. Blah, 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 blah. Just squeaked there for a bit. Don't mind me. Diff. Put up to diff 3. So, reason plus command or security difficulty 3 to see if you can glean anything of tactical or strategic note to your house or the Empire. That'll be a third task. Because I presume Oda's doing this. Good golly. 2 momentum generated.
Capped.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't realize I was muted there.
That's what I was beginning to wonder. So, you're able to discern that it seems that Starfleet had an interest in how SupQuit'aH was going and the Bemoth sector was going because it's a border area, and they knew that it was kind of in a... There was going to be a shift in policy. from your predecessor. There's also concerns that he raised about how they felt about the war with the big AI. I can't remember what they're called. Archon. Yeah. With the Archon, how the Klingons were feeling about it, reporting back on that. There were some questions about what the Civil War was about. If Torg had heard anything about Kismet. And you're able to pull out from that as well that Paris was aware of where the Kismet it was, and that it was basically rapidly trying to get itself across Klingon space. Although by a certain star date, they would have arrived at Kronos. I'm going to double check the fleet reports here for the Kismet because by a certain date, certain things have happened. So let me make sure I'm not giving you bad information here.
So at the time this was sent, Kismet was back in Klingon space?
They've been in Klingon space for a while. They were trying to be careful. One, they were chasing Adler for a while, and then they had to get through Klingon space with the knowledge that they had a lot of hostile Klingons looking in their direction. And let me find out what they were doing as of. Well, in essence, to save ourselves me scrolling through fleet reports, and I'll summarize this later for you, but basically you'll get access to to everything else that, to the fleet logs basically of the Kismet up to the latest star date. So he knows the motion, you'll have some insight into what the Kismet's doing, to the point that you may not have the word for word exactly what the Kismet said, but you're able to read through
right.
Paris's questions that, that's what the Kismet was going to do. That's what the Kismet was going to be up to. And you're able to make insights that, even without the reports, you figured it out on your own. What they were going to do, or most likely going to do.
Okay.
Plus the reports you probably get from Command, because Klingon Command would be like, hey, by the way, you're nowhere near this situation, but just so you know. So you're able to put together the intelligence reports from Command plus what Paris told you. Well, told
right.
Torg. The last bit I'll tell you is that there is worries of a... Paris says in his writings that there is notes of worry about... he doesn't say it as much, but you read between the lines. He's worried about a new militant faction of Section 31, with designs on the Shackleton Expanse and the Klingons and the Romulans. He doesn't know quite yet, but he mentions that he might be asking Torg to look into this matter in the near future. But that never happened because Torg never got the message that this danger was, that there was a growing danger in his region. But it's all covered in, it's this guy and this guy, but you're able to piece it together.
Right.
If you want more answers to questions, you'll have to spend momentum. I figure you should get quite a few information because you were able to pull that from his head. So,
literally.
In essence, Torg is still being useful even after dying.
Yeah. Oh, and in the memory data, I can. Yeah, I can confirm that Torg is, from your own report, from what you saw, Oda, that he was mainly loyal to SupQit'aH, and he seemed to be part of Section 31 mainly as not to be so much a member of them, but as a way to try to for intelligence to keep an eye on what they're doing. It's like, I'll help you with little things, but this is just so I have my finger on the pulse. The problem was that Section 31 was starting to catch wise to his intelligence, and especially since you were catching wise to it, Starfleet probably caught wise to it, and Section 31 was probably catching on.
Okay. I guess where is this? I'll spend a momentum for information on this militant faction of Section 31 and some Klingons and Romulans. Where's their interest in Shackleton centered?
It seems to be primarily centered in the what Starfleet designate the Narendra Station sector. So there's basically two halves of Federation space along Shackleton space. There is. I'll quickly draw it just without the map, but it's in essence. There's, Klingons, and then Federation. Not quite that big. Not to exact scale, obviously.
Right.
And then Shackleton. And Romulans. And there's basically a corridor that the Federation can kind of go back and forth. Right. As long as they don't veer up into Romulan space or veer down into or rimward toward the Klingon space. So Narendra Station is basically here. They have other stations elsewhere, like smaller outposts and such. But Narendra is the big linchpin for the two Federation sides as they explore inward. It's also the one that talks with Klingon space the most. There are ones that would talk to you guys, to even Bemoth Station, but this was the base of the 10th Fleet for a while, for at least a year or so, because they were pressing in. But eventually they started withdrawing. So the Section 31's focus was in this area in particular.
Does the name Star X come up at all?
At this point, it doesn't come up. It comes up in the same way that most of the Klingons. Away with that thought. Of the Starfleet captains,
Right.
Starek. Actually, by this point, I think Starks has been relieved due to a scandal that happened in Romulan space.
Yeah, and that's completely meta and out of character because Oda wouldn't know Star X from.
You'd know him as a captain that was there in the he wasn't there at the battle, but he was the captain that helped neutralize the Archon planet.
Right.
So you know him by reputation, if nothing else.
Stupid tribality. Yet another 3. And as I recall from the map, the Klingon Empire actually kind of does this number under the Federation, and somewhere back here connects with the Shackleton Expanse itself.
It's more like this.
Okay.
Because the Klingons aren't so much pushing. If they're pushing into Shackleton, they just say, "Hey, we're allies," and the Nerder says, "Cool," and whoop, they just go straight in. But mainly the Klingon expansion efforts have been going this way, and somewhat rimward. But it's better to go trailing because the way the galaxy is formed, it's better to follow the arm than jump across the void, as it were.
More planets here.
Yeah.
Resources.
It's like we could veer up this way, but hey, the Federation wants to sit in those little void spaces and those little weird planets. Go ahead. We'll take a look at these cool things up here.
And like Bemoth sector's bordering somewhere about there.
They're right here, yeah.
Okay. Of course, I have the books right beside me. I could just open it and look at the map, but too easy. And that was pretty well drawn off the cuff there.
I've looked at that map way too much. But I think by this point, I think the Kismet... I'd have to look at the fleet logs to be 100%, but the Kismet was... whoops, I just made you disappear. I mean, those watching the stream can see, but you can't see. There we go. Geez, Klingon have low-res maps. Hey... It's a tactical map. No. A tactical strategic map. Anyway. By this point, I believe the short story for the Kismet is they went through Klingon space and got... I think they went straight out. I'd have to check the logs again. But I think they go out and then they have to do something and come back through Klingon space. They don't go to Kronos so much later. So they went... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if at some point you'll just shoot me the star date of the message, then I'll know
Yep.
where
Yep.
the logs to read.
So you have access to that information, essentially.
Okay.
Any other questions you have?
Read back over. Nothing in there about Calcat crystals or anything?
For momentum, I'll answer that.
Okay.
So in there, Paris is noting that there is a Calcat smuggling problem, and that the Starfleet as a whole is trying to crack down on it because it's starting to permeate across the underground network all the way to the Alpha Quadrant. And as far as Starfleet's concerned, they consider any trade of Calcat basically as sentient being trafficking, which is super illegal for the Federation. They really don't like that. 10th Fleet's taking the lead on the investigation, so there's a few ships already kind of looking for it, and by this point, I think a couple have already encountered Calcat incursions elsewhere in the Alpha Quadrant. They believe a lot of the smuggling is coming through Romulan and Klingon space. They're not using the Federation corridor because it's policed too much. There's too many Romulans and Klingons and Starfleet ships all in that same area. Smuggling stuff through there is asking to be caught. So it's better to try to, if you're going to smuggle, at least have one faction looking at you rather than all three looking at you.
Right.
Zara?
But
there you are, kiddo.
yeah, that's the most Paris knows. He's not really, his finger isn't on the pulse on that particular one. He just knows it's a thing that he's looking into.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions at the moment.
Okay. Oopsie, that was bad. All right, so more actions left for our brave heroes. Oh, no.
Isn't there still the
Oh shoot, I made stuff disappear.
contacting Paris about Forg's passing
Gosh darn
at
it.
some point?
That depends on Oda if he wants to contact the guy. Because he basically just got access to a bunch of semi-classified information that he wasn't supposed to get.
Yeah, I will. I don't want to. I'm willing to let it move over to somebody else to do a task. And I think if contacting Paris is going to be the fourth task, I don't really want to do that right now. There's something else I'd rather do if it's going to cost one of my 4 tasks. So you can move on to someone else if you'd like for the moment.
Did working with Tarkin cost as a task, or is it?
No, because you were just assisting, so it didn't cost you a task.
Okay. I would like. Well, first of all, I remember there was something about the Dakchanaka needing maintenance. Is that still accurate, or has that been taken care of?
The Dakchanaka. Oh, yeah, it had breaches, didn't it? Am I full of crap? Hold on. Not that I recall. You could do maintenance work on the ship, but it doesn't have any breaches at present. I think those were dealt with at this point.
Didn't the manga take a little bit of damage in the battle?
Oh no, that's what I remember now. None of the ships took damage because when you guys took Bamoth, it was a non-starter fight. You guys just rolled in and mowed over them.
Okay. I will ask Oda for permission to tinker with the shield generators of the Dakchanaka to possibly output more power.
Granted.
Okay.
So what's your plan, Keldar?
Is there a way mechanically to do that?
Yep. So what you could do... there are 2 ways you can do what you're trying to do. One is spending an arc to or a milestone to swap something out to give yourself improved shield generator. The other thing you can do to give yourself a temporary boost to shields is an extended task that it wouldn't be a talent per se, but you would have basically you'd optimize the shield, so it's something you'd have to keep maintaining every tail to make sure it's still running. But you could basically give yourself a +5 shield boost, basically the effect of the talent of advanced shields, but it's a talent that you have to actively maintain if you achieve it this tail. Difficulty of that would be something I have to calculate. One moment. Let's see if I'll let you know if it's worth your time. Is it in this book? It's in the other book. But you can do that. There's ways to do that. 7. Nope. There it is. Okay, so you want to mess with the shields, which is more that. So it's actually pretty easy. Actually, you're gonna make me spend quite a bit of threat. Oops, wrong page. I want to tell you that in SupQuit'aH. Alright, so we'll call it this.
Where are you looking for my reference?
I'm basing this off of, I don't know where it is in the Klingon book, but in the Star Trek Adventures book, I look under Zen and the Art of Warp Core Maintenance, and it gives guidelines on how GMs can set up tasks like this, extended tasks like optimizing the engine and stuff. There's probably an equivalent in the Klingon one, I just don't know what heading it's under. But there's probably something like that. There's probably some extended task thing in there. I'll get you those page numbers. Remind me after the game to give you those page numbers, because it's in there somewhere, I'm sure. Okay. Temp shields. Boost. +5. This is going to be... I'll spend some of my resources to make this a little harder. I don't have a lot to do it. So you have an extended task. It is control engineering roll, difficulty 2, magnitude 3, work of 10. Each task roll you do will basically be a week of basically sitting on the deductionaka and trying to find a way to optimize the shield grid so it's significantly more powerful.
Okay. I will work on that then.
Okay.
So first roll, I'll spend a threat to get an extra die.
Okay.
For bold engineering. And control plus engineering.
Oh, good golly. Bloody 6 hits. So you'll gain 4 momentum. And roll for me. Your engineering, which I assume is 5, plus 2, so 7 challenge dice. See how much work you get done.
2 float.
Darn it. Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Oda.
Not a problem.
I'm so used to finding it in the... Good, jeez, okay. Cool. So that's 2 magnitude total, because you broke the work track, and you got at least 5 work done. So difficulty is 0 for the follow-up roll. Magnitude of 1. Work of is finished. So you just have to spend another week just to finish it off.
Okay. I'll do that.
Okay.
And I should roll again to... Well, I guess we have momentum floating, so...
Yep, you got 2 float.
What can I do with that floating momentum?
I'll let you spend the 2 float toward making it so that next tail you get to skip having to do it. Like, you already have the maintenance guys. Like, here's what I want you to do. You don't need to tell me. Just follow these instructions. It should stay stable for a long time. Once that's done, I'll go check on it again.
Okay, I will do that. Sounds great.
Okay.
Okay. So if somebody else, Hona or Tarkin, wants to do a task, but
Hona should still have at least 2 tasks left.
He does, yeah. As does Tarkin.
Was there more about building the city here? I guess I can't go into the city yet, but... or helping rebuild it.
Yeah, no one's built it, has established, done any city building yet. Or palace building, for that matter.
Can I make plans? Maybe assisted by Hoda rather than...
Well,
actually
Hona
being
would
in
know
the city itself.
would have knowledge of the area, since it was his home. He can help with the start with the rebuilding plans.
Tarkin, you can certainly assist someone else with it, but if you lead, it ends up with you going in the town.
Oh, right.
But you can totally assist somebody with it, because that way you're like, here's the plans. Where in the city? Don't talk to me about the city. I start hearing voices, so just don't talk to me about the city, all right?
I think I might continue healing. That's the case. Can't enter the city at all. But, if Hona wants to kind of build, I'll continue healing myself. So same roles as before, wasn't it?
So you're trying to heal yourself?
Yeah, from the trauma.
Difficulty 4, Insight Medicine. I've lost track of it.
I think I'll use one thread and use 1 thread full momentum to get 2 die. Sorry, what was the complication? Is it just...
It was just 20, but I'll raise it 19 to 20.
Oh, good. Fast. Well, it's only 2 successes anyway.
Can you re-roll some of that?
No, I can't re-roll any. No, I don't want to use the momentum, so bring it on. What's the 2 complications?
Oh, no. Okay, cool.
Damn, you giving them the complications, huh? Oh, man.
Oh, wait, no. That's 1 less, sorry. So I was only gonna throw your trauma's worth in stress at you twice. So I'll take the first 4, so that 1 goes away. So 3 stress from the... one of the days you suffer quite a bit of the process of... Oh, that's not too bad. So you've taken a total of 4 stress. As you try some more drastic pharmaceuticals to try to help deal with it. Unfortunately, they didn't work, and they had side effects that were far more harmful, even to a Klingon, because you get really into the very powerful stuff, and it doesn't really work for you very well. very queasy and very sick. But hey, you didn't get injured. You just feel very uncomfortable for like a week.
Yeah, probably vomits occasionally as he's trying to use his different techniques in the lab.
Who knew a full barrel of blood wine doesn't help with this sort of situation? What if I condense it into a pill? No.
Nonsense. Blood wine always helps. Says the one who is passing out drunk from blood wine.
And Hona, you were volunteering to help build something in Beaumont Central.
Yeah, you can always try regular whiskey. I know, well, Torque had an inventory of it.
Yeah. So what's Hona gonna do for his third week?
He's gonna start with the rebuilding effort. Because he knows a lot of the vendors in the area that can help rebuild the city.
Brain.
The rebellion and just in general knowing people from childhood. I don't know.
So, the task ahead of you is a presence or control roll plus engineering with a difficulty of 2, 3, or 4, depending on how big of a capital facility you want to build. This is assisted by SupQuit'aH's house wealth plus its rep.
We're Klingon. There's no going small on anything we do.
So, gonna work on building a grand palace for SupQuit'aH. Like the one that used to be here.
That should have been there.
And the house wealth and rep is representing just you guys buying the relevant materials and asking the locals, hey, help us rebuild. And like, oh, a lot of laborers will just straight up will rush across the planet going, yeah, we'll help with that. Like you get that because if a laborer helps build a palace, they get to brag about that. Warriors brag about killing awesome enemies. Laborers brag about working on great stuff. What did you do? Oh, I built a bridge. What did you do? I built a well. What did you do? I helped build the palace. Like, oh, okay. You're a little more important than the rest of us.
And obviously, since Kona was not affected by the crystals or anything else, he's ideal for this task at the moment.
Yeah, like Hoenn having a much easier time than Tarkin or Keldar would have with this, because that'd be like, what, diff 10 if Keldar was doing it.
Yeah, those two just need to focus on getting healed the hell up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're just cannon fodder at this point.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see. So, what do we stand for? Momentum.
4.
And I use 3 momentum to buy dice.
Ooh. I see only like 1 hit. Probably easier control. 10 and 2. Oh, the house assists.
Anyway, I can reroll some of that.
Did you spend your determination already? I don't think you did.
Not yet.
Thanks, Dice
It's
Roller,
actually-
for catching on.
It's actually 2 from the house there.
Oh, hooray. So,
So I'd like to at least reroll that. The 19 and the 17.
I don't think the 16 does anything for you, does it? Because 9 and... 10 and 2, so that's 12, so that's the... Only the 7's really doing anything for you. But you'll need a value to apply toward this. I wouldn't take will not be defeated for this one.
How about honor in rebuilding? I don't know.
Hey, if you want to make that a value, that would work.
You could also spend on a dictate, which would get you an extra thing at the end of the game for glory.
That's true.
Spend on the dictate as well.
Because I think a dictate will fit here, the rebuild or raise it higher with glory, whatever, number 1.
Restore the house with honor, and with glory raise it still higher.
Okay. Alright, I added it in as a value.
You don't have to add a value since you're spending toward a dictate.
So I can reroll those 2 high numbers.
Yep, you might want to roll all 3, really, just to give yourself the most chance. That's 2 more.
Nice. So
gain 1 momentum. As Hona spends a week help organizing the people to build a grand palace for House SupQit'aH to run out of. So not only an administrative center, but a testament to the power and might SupQit'aH on Bamoth 2. And when the palace is it will take... Hona doesn't have... Once you spend that 1 week, it still takes the rest of the month to do it. But it's a... you did all the setup of exactly what you wanted everyone to work on. And then it's just a matter of checking in with them every once in a while to go, hey, make sure this is done. Hey, make sure that is done. Don't forget this statue. Don't forget that artwork, you know.
Yeah.
And by virtue of the capital being rebuilt in Bamoth, the rest of the city starts suddenly being rebuilt very quickly because every Klingon that has any sense in his brain, or even alien subjects of the Empire, if you were going to rebuild anywhere, you'd probably rebuild where the capital is because you get the brag that you live near the palace. So the city is very rapidly going to be rebuilt around the palace. So everyone has 1 task roll left after Hona's efforts in Bamoth Central.
Is it mainly just rebuilding this central city now? Are there any other centers we need to build?
Button-on Temple. That's still a devastated wasteland right now.
Does it have to be the Barnan temple?
It doesn't have to be, no. If you're the one if Oda approves it, you can build whatever you want there, really. Doesn't even have to be a temple.
I say we rebuild a temple, but we rebuild a temple of Kalas, the unforgettable.
Yeah.
Trying to score points with the Emperor.
Well, I mean, it fundamentally, like, Banan as a house, its original purpose and traditional purpose was upholding the traditions of Kalas. So I say we rebuild a smaller and less apt to be used as a stronghold against us temple. but as kind of a symbol of, putting those priests who stayed around and who decided to, be loyal back on the proper path of, Kalas and ensuring those traditions rather than, the traitorous path of power.
I assume that's an engineering role, right?
Yep. Presence or control plus engineering. Difficulty 2, 3, or 4. Assisted by House, Wealth, and Rep. With the lowest being a minor shrine, like the sort of thing you'd walk out. A statue that's just outdoors that people gather around. Whereas a proper temple. A temple, not proper temple, but a temple that's not really fortified. It's just, it has all the trappings of what a temple's supposed to be. Whereas what used to be there was a grand fortress temple, the sort of thing where the priests would be armed to the teeth to defend the temple and have like turrets and stuff. That's usually reserved when usually, if it isn't for a house headquarters like Ba'anan had, you would make this sort of a fortress if you intended the temple to guard a sacred artifact. Like the Fort of the Fallen is that. It is a fort not only to defend the statues, but also like the starship, the spear, and all that. It's meant to guard relics. Whereas a regular temple is just a building. It's a building that's sacred, but it's not. You wouldn't want to stand and defend from that position if you really had to.
Can I attempt my difficulty 0 engineering task to try to generate some momentum from my third week thing now, or should I? Have we already passed that?
Your fourth week, you could do that if you wanted to try to generate some momentum for future rules.
Okay.
Are you gonna do Are you gonna reconstruct these temples?
Yeah, I'll
at all?
build the temple.
Okay.
I'm inclined toward a temple, a 3.
Yep. Yeah, we're not going to give them a fortress again.
Yeah. So presence or control plus engineering, difficulty 3, assisted by the house.
Because the teachings of Kalas are for all Klingons. They should not be locked behind walls and secrecy. There's the propaganda going out.
So what's being built?
A temple of Kalas.
Yeah.
I'll buy 1 die with momentum.
Okay.
So temple as well as the Grand Palace is being built so far.
Plus the house, wealth, and rep.
Should I roll that, or somebody else want to roll it? Oh, there we go.
Your short one. Success. Because Div's 3 to build a temple.
Do you have cautious engineering?
No, I have bold engineering.
You spit momentum.
No, I didn't want to spend my good thing on. I don't know.
Someone could assist with it, like, because it won't cost you an action.
I'm willing to make my 4th test to help pull the.
Oh, you don't even have to spend a task. It's just only one person can assist. But, if you want to assist, you can.
Well, what's the role?
Presence or control plus engineering. To assist.
Right.
Is Hana assisting?
I'm gonna assist with 1 roll. Okay, presence plus engineering. Oh no, I'm gonna do control and engineering.
Okay.
So you're basically 12.
Ah. Not enough.
15's not enough?
Nope, because you're that's 12 for you, yeah. So it's 12 and lower.
Is it 12 or higher or 12 or lower?
Lower, lower.
Ah,
Yeah.
So does that mean the construction's just delayed, or like?
Construction's delayed. Basically, it's not. Someone will have to spend a week to try to complete the work. Because you start some of it, but it seems to be a lot of your effort ends up being spent into just getting the rubble out of the way.
or I can make that my fourth task is to work on the temples. Or start work on the temple as well.
And Kaldar, you could assist Hona with that.
Okay, if he's gonna do that, I'll assist him then.
So difficulty still 3. You're just getting to attempt it again, basically, because there's no complications, so you guys didn't fail. It's just taking longer than you thought it was going to.
Okay, so where are we with momentum?
1 momentum.
Momentum, and it's a diff 3.
Yes.
I'd like to the momentum and buy a die.
Okay.
I think that's 2 successes.
2 hits so far, plus the house and plus Keldar's roll.
Do I still have my determination? Since I didn't need to use it earlier?
Oh, you did spend it. You just spent it toward a dictate.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
House gets you another.
that's enough. As the Temple of Khalis grounds are... the Temple of Khalis, not grounds, sorry. Ends up being built in the ruins of where Buttonon's fortress was.
The ground has been broken once again.
So that leaves Tarkin and Oda.
I was just thinking for Tarkin maybe preparing for the mission in Narendra's sector. Is there any kind of mapping or intelligence you can gain of this daemon?
Yeah, you could spend reason plus... What kind of intelligence are you looking for?
Maybe what to expect if we're going to either raid it or infiltrate the facility. I guess what the system is like, information about the system.
Oh, do you mean the Narendra? Do you mean the Starfleet facility, Narendra Station, or do you mean Terminus Puzzle, where the diamond is?
Plaza.
Okay, I was like, you're raiding the Starfleet? I mean, that's not I'm not surprised by that, but
No, the Terminus.
But Starfleet will be.
oh, I should probably give you difficulty.
Technically, aren't they our allies at this point?
They are, but you know, Klingons being Klingons, it's not an invasion; it's a raid. It's different.
Hey, we were bored.
Yeah. Reason plus security or con, difficulty 2, assisted by House Ross's influence plus reputation to try to glean some information about your target system. You can also use your research focus for this because that's exactly what you're doing. You're researching your target. Just typing that in so I remember what that roll's for.
Difficulty 2. I won't use any die.
This is Tarkin's last roll.
Okay. And
Okay.
I'll roll because it's anyway. Is it influence and
Yeah. I am.
oh, there you go.
So another 2 more momentum. And so, Tarkin, you have learned that Terminus Parasol is quite some distance into the Shackleton Expanse.
Jeez, bro.
It is a a trade station mainly. Doesn't exactly have a ton of defenses of itself. A lot of its security is the fact that it's a space. It's an outpost, so it's around scale 8, scale 7. It has some fighters to help defend it, but it's a Ferengi station. They're like, you would know that as a daimon, he doesn't. Most diamonds, when they get to that rank, which is basically captain, they get to have a ship or a station because it's expensive to buy a ship and it's expensive to build a space station. So the only way he gets ship support is if he starts hiring mercenaries, which will, from a mechanical perspective, I need to spend threat to pull in reinforcements because he doesn't have any just sitting there on his own. I will also tell you for free that the station is not a fire base. It's not a sitting weapons platform. It's a trade station. So a lot of its talents are aimed toward making sure cargo moves quickly, making sure the shields are pretty robust, decent tractor beam systems, that sort of thing. This also means that for the next mission, when you go with them, I will share with you the character sheet for the station, because you will know its specs from basically asking various trade ships, hey, looking over the records and saying, hey, what does this station look like? What kind of scans do you have? And you start putting it together into a complete picture. That is big. It's probably as up to date as you're ever going to get, short of actually just going there.
Yeah.
I also note that since it's in Shackleton space, it is a neutral area, so there's no one else really out to save him, really. It's just him, and he's expected to defend himself. He might yell for help if from Starfleet, but whether Starfleet rushes to his aid or not is up to them, really.
Starfleet always rushes to aid.
I'll share this information with Hot Order and ask whether there's any further information for obtain information, if we have any spends that we can use.
As science, you get a freebie.
I use con. Oh, you mean
Oh, right.
general.
Oh yeah, you're the science officer, so you get that's your superpower.
I'm willing to presume you used a computer to look this stuff up, so.
Are you able to find out any information on what allies he's known to have? This Parasol?
Do you have any allies? He's got mercenaries, maybe contacts.
What is the question, sorry?
if he's known to have any allies, any existing allies, forces that he deals with regularly that, he's known to be in bed with. Like in particular, or in large scale.
His allies are primarily fellow Ferengi, but he has connections through the Vulcan and Cardassian underground.
Vulcan smugglers? No doubt part of their insane reunification project.
Nothing I've heard of before. Unusual of Vulcans. Perhaps Romulans. Maybe they're disguised.
Could be. But ever since the end of the last century, Vulcans have been getting progressively more and more involved in smuggling their representatives into Romulan space and Romulans out into Vulcan space. It was some misbegotten dream of the reunification of the two peoples.
Well, seems like they've got this daimon has links in many factions. We should be careful.
Probably exactly why he chose to put his station where he did.
It shall be a long journey there. Perhaps we may encounter some of these on the transit.
I can't think of any other questions off the top of my head. Anybody else got some?
Doesn't seem like it, so
What, are the Vulcans a part of this smuggling operation of the Cockats?
That we don't know.
So now I'd like to find out.
Is that a question?
I'm asking.
we can spend a point of momentum to answer that question. Is that what you want?
Sure.
Okay. The answer is yes. One of the ships that helped smuggle out some of the Calcat was a Vulcan science vessel. But the Kismet at the time had discovered that a few ships had wheedled away, so there are some... That's likely how some of them got into Federation space, was through certain Vulcan smugglers.
No, the ships that were being used were Vulcan, but could it be that that the crew on those ships are not Vulcan?
That is possible, but without... it is possible, but from the records that Tarkin's able to pull, the ships are registered as Vulcan with Vulcan people. Now, that might be false, but you'd have to board and inspect, like physically, like medically inspect the Vulcans to check if they're Romulan or otherwise intelligence operatives. Because anyone can be made to look and seem like a Vulcan if you have enough medical knowledge.
Do we have the information necessary to identify those ships? And I'll be willing to spend another momentum to get that kind of general information on all ships that have been known to take part in the Calcat smuggling.
Stop.
Yeah, for a momentum, I'll give you that information. You basically have a list of ships that you know or suspect to be smuggling ships.
Okay.
Or Calcat smuggling ships, to be more precise.
Cool.
Do you have any other questions?
I hate it when the GM keeps asking that question over and over again. It makes me feel like I'm missing something.
You know something that we don't.
No comment.
Yeah,
If
she
you
is.
what question would
Are
you
we
ask?
asking the right question? That is the question. Are we asking the right questions?
For one momentum, I'll tell you. No. And we're out of momentum. Okay, I think
Yeah, I think we're done.
we
Okay.
can move on.
So that leaves Oda with the final week of actions.
Also looking towards the next mission, I'm going to try and speak with the Cowcat in orbit again and tell them what we have learned and our plan to raid the Ferengi outpost that smuggled some of their fellows, perhaps them themselves, through to try and get answers on what's going on and see if they would be willing to accompany and assist us with this.
Fitness plus command or medicine difficulty 2, as they reach out sonically across the empty space into your mind.
Will definitely be fitness command. 2. So I'll give you.
Chat was trying to really rip you up there for a second. Insight 6 rolls are great for figuring out if you missed something. Correction, Insight Diff 1, not Diff 6. Yeah. Sometimes I do, chat. I do sometimes throw Diff 1s. If I think a player's missed something, I'll go, Insight plus X, Diff 1, maybe. I can't tell you that for free, but I'm trying to warn you. But when it comes to obtaining information, I always make sure to offer. Like, I don't want you to feel cheated that you couldn't ask a question, because you can always give me threat to ask even more questions.
True. So, okay, I'll give you 1 momentum and 2 threat for a total of 4 dice.
Up in the diff by 1.
And to activate bold command. Diff 3, heard.
This isn't Hell's Kitchen.
Okay, what is this roll doing?
Withstanding the mental weight of a small planetoid worth of beings.
Oh, is that all? Argue to use Mach Bara, since it's all about kind of focusing the mind and spirit and all that stuff as the focus.
I'll take it straight, actually, given what crystals you're talking to. If it was the other crystals, I'd increase the complication.
Okay.
But this is totally in line with their thought process, so you're kind of resonating with them a little,
Okay.
so to speak.
Kind of what I was thinking. Okay. Here goes nothing. Hope I put the right number of dice in. I did! So that's actually 4 successes, so 1 more than I needed.
Find the thing I'm looking for. Ah, hell with it. I just scared someone in chat. They're very familiar with this music means. Hododa, you feel yourself and your sense of your surroundings expand. New scene, by the way.
Just got that.
You see darkness, anger. You feel a sense of injustice of... You see a world gleaming in blue crystals. You see trees that capture all light. You see ships through space. And eventually the wandering thoughts kind of coalesce and start focusing on you, and that's where you kind of have to center your brain for a second, because you're getting bombarded by a nation's whole world's worth of thought.
Jeez.
And then it just kind of deep breath, just focus your head for a second, and you focus your intentions at them.
Klingons do not think deeply.
Emotion of curiosity, emotion of eagerness. You see an image in your mind of Parazel Station. A sense of familiarity.
I'll kind of meet that sense of curiosity with my own sense of curiosity and kind of try to focus what we've learned about the station. If I can figure out how to translate that.
You see an image of the station engulfed in red crystal. You see screaming Ferengi fleeing for their lives.
Satisfaction, but with an undertone of needed deliberation to fulfill curiosity. Need for information before punishment.
Correct me, did you guys... Oh, someone had a favor. You guys don't have an alliance with them, right? You guys didn't spend for that yet?
I've only got gain favor.
Okay. Presence command difficulty 2. To try to convince these crystals that it's better to do that than to give you time to deliberate rather than them just exact their vengeance. Not denying them vengeance, just give me time. Don't do it right away.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my thing. Is that, okay, we're both curious about what's happened here and why. And what I'm trying to get across is, let's figure out why, and then we can kill them all. So that's kind of where I'm trying to go. You're curious, I'm curious. Let's figure out what's going on, and then we can kill everyone who had anything to do with this if we want.
Yeah, no, Presence Command Diff 2, they're not going to oppose this. They're just they're very eager to exact their vengeance. You're kind of talking, you're trying to focus their vengeance a little.
It's fair enough. Take a threat for bold and the third die.
Complication increase.
Fair, I guess.
I found no reason to increase difficulty. It's not like they want to fight you. You're telling them something they want to hear.
All right. Persuasion as a focus?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Complication increase.
Vengeance, kill all organics. Wait, no.
Not the ones with the cranial crest, though. And the 8-chambered heart. Leave all of those alone.
An image of a crystal sphere about the size of a Klingon. Image of that sphere on a Klingon ship. The understanding of waiting, the understanding of patience, concept of ambush, then an image of a Klingon and a Ferengi talking at each other, image of that crystal next to a what appears to be a warp reactor, but the image is kind of fuzzy. Like they don't have a great understanding of what reactors look like. But you are able to piece it together. You've been in the KDF long enough. You know what they're trying to get at.
Klingon talks to the Ferengi. The crystal gets near the reactor, and things go boom.
And then image of crystal as big as the star over your world. Image of the station engulfed. Image of Klingon ship moving away.
That's nice.
Feeling of eagerness.
Yeah. Feeling of agreement, and natural thirst for battle and defeat of enemies, and image of latinum, with associated feeling of how to phrase this in terms of emotions. Need for latinum, associated with need for, and then images of the rebuilding that we've been doing and the devastation of the cities being redone and all that kind of stuff. And then, association of latinum with Ferengi Station.
Image of Klingons moving boxes. Image of Klingons moving boxes into ship. And then sense of curiosity, confusion.
Sense of enthusiastic agreement and thirst for glorious adventure.
Sense of confusion, sense of agreement. You get the feeling that they don't really understand why you want to do that. They do, but they don't really.
Right.
But they're like, you want that for some reason. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Confirmation of agreement, sense of ultimate mutual satisfaction and achievement.
Actually, I know where to cut. We take note of those who were, as we go to present day, Lord Singer Cecile then goes on to the part of the tale, after getting through the part about the temple being built, she gets to the part where she kind of pauses, and then of course, Jo Oda, there was your communion with the Star of Death that looms overhead, where we found you standing out in a field. And then suddenly you appear to have an understanding, and an agreement was struck. I have made in writing and in song your experiences to ensure this knowledge and this information is held, in the very least, in this grand palace of B'Math. If not the Fort of the Fallen.
Well sung, Lord Singer. As always, House SupQit'aH seeks out allies and grows strong.
Of me, do you have any questions, Jo Oda, regarding the lore that is sung today.
I say the Lord Singer of SupQuit'aH sings well and truly. Do any gainsay my rule? So be it. The song is accepted, and the singer.
From one of the nearby halls, you hear a cry. I shout, "I have a question." And a female Klingon with the badge of a Joe, with the sash of a Joe, strides into the hall. The Lord Singer kind of blinks, like, where did she, like, she didn't know where this person came from. And she kind of steps back a little bit, confused. I am Bakara, Joe of Telpak, and I gainsay you, Joe Oda. I demand an answer on behalf of the Empire. Cecile looks like she's ready to hit this person. Like, she looks very upset, but she kind of stops and kind of looks at you to see what you're going to say.
I kind of just hold up a hand. And who are you to come into the palace of SupQuit'aH, gainsay its lord, and demand of me answers? Do I know of House Telpak?
Insight command difficulty of 1.
Check your stats one more time. Whoop. Haha, 10 successes.
I think you cheated, sir.
I think I did too. Hold on. Sorry, I inputted something weird there. There you go. Oh, I see. Yeah, 12 to 20, yeah.
Yes, you actually remember Cecile telling you about House Telpak a while. She said she was asking Telpak to come by to help investigate the Cowcat Crystal incident, and Bakara is the Zhou of Telpak. They're not a great house, but they have ambitions of being a great house. And you've heard of Bakara being a woman who does not take "I don't know" as an answer.
Magnificent. Has Telpak risen to a seat on the High Council without that I am not aware of?
It is every Klingon's duty to seek the truth. And I wonder at the report that was given to the High Council. I wonder at the civil war that was waged here. And I wonder at the part that the houses that dwell in this hall, at their part in the destruction of Bemoth Central. Any warrior who balks from such a duty is too cowardly to bother to say this to your face. But I question what happened here. I question what great calamity was allowed to occur here. And I demand that you allow an independent investigation into the affairs that occurred, so that those who truly acted against the Empire are brought to justice. By blood or by blade. Oh, sorry, she says by blood or by steel. Which, to translate that means either by killing them or by bringing them to the law, like actually bringing them to the court and having them judged and all that.
Right. I too seek the truth behind the destruction of Bemoth Station and Bemoth Central City. I too wish to know exactly who and why this occurred, and who was ultimately responsible. Who do you suggest to make up this independent investigatory body?
I would select myself as the general of this investigation, along with a array of your trusted minds of law and investigation across the houses. SupQuit'aH, Ba'anan, Andrus, and Rasa, to ensure that no one house has dominion over the truth, but led by a mind not caught up in the internal affairs of this sector, but with a fresh perspective. My goal is not to steal this sector from you. I have ships for that. My goal here is to find the truth, so that way none other can question what happens here, and that there is no specter of treachery or incompetence that looms over your sector, or any planet of the Empire.
The report submitted to the High Council was in every respect true, albeit, I grant you, in a more archaic and poetic style than has become the fashion of late. I have no fears as to anything any investigation may find regarding that. My honor will speak for itself, as will that of my comrades. You may have your investigation, but I would caution you not to speak of taking the sector with ships or otherwise. Only recently others have tried and failed and died. I will not accept any member of this commission from House Banan who has fled the sector. They have given up any rights they might once have had to sit in any kind of judgment upon anything in this sector. However, there are members of the priesthood of this disgraced house still here on Bamoth. You may choose your representatives from them.
Bakara kind of glares at you for a second, and then kind of just begins glaring across the room.
After all, if the members of House Banan who fled had any interest in what happens here, one thinks they would have stayed and faced whatever truth there might be, like honorable Klingons, instead of fleeing before even firing a shot.
She continues glaring across the room, and then glares at Cecile briefly, and then finally looks back to you as you're talking. This I can agree to.
Very well. As Joe of House SupQuit'aH, I hereby empower Bakara Jo Telpak as Council General of the Special Investigatory Committee to find out exactly what happened to cause Bamoth Station to crash into Bamoth Central City. Who caused it, why it happened. To find out as much of the truth as might survive the fires of the fall.
She nods at your declaration and strides out with purpose. Cecile just kind of blinks, sighs, and kind of regains her center stage and looks back up at you.
My apologies, Lore Singer. However, it seemed best to deal with Telpak quickly and decisively.
I agree with you, Joe. Bakara is a torpedo that, once launched, is hard to turn around.
Oda smiles appreciatively. I sensed as much. It will be interesting to have her around, I think.
That is indeed the best word to be used in this hall, Joe. She shakes her head like she's holding back something else, but obviously there's a bunch of other people here, so she's not going to elaborate on that.
Right. So, Lore Singer, your song is accepted, and the singer deserves all praise. May your service to House SupQuit'aH continue. Kapla!
And everyone shouts, Kapla. She bows her head and then withdraws out of the chamber. With the song finally sung, people begin filing out because that was basically the last act of the day. There was other minor things you did during the day, but basically reconfirming what Cecier's already told you, like certain materials being moved, certain monies being dealt with, certain contracts being done. So more and more Klingons file out because now all the business of warlords is done with. And soon the Dokchanaka and its crew will be setting forth into the great unknown of the Shackleton to seek out answers. Is there anything else any of you wish to do before you leave the hall and begin your preparations for your journey?
No, nothing comes to mind.
I think I'm good.
And with that, this tale is over. But our future tales will lie in the hands of some very unfortunate Ferengi. Those of you who are watching, thank you very much for watching with us. I hope you enjoyed this bit of business, but we shall see what end of a sword or disruptor is probably coming at the Ferengi soon. We'll hope to see you next time, and hope to see you then.